Welcome to the Board Game BBQ podcast. I'm your host tonight, Adrian, and this is episode 255, brought to you by Advent Games and our amazing Patreons. That was my third time trying that intro, guys. Thank you very much for bearing with me. And tonight I am joined by a fellow Queenslander. Why do we say Queenslander like that?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a state of origin thing. If you were back in the 90s, there was a player who used to play a state of origin and at the position of lock, Billy Moore, and he used to come out of the tunnel going, Queenslander, and we all hated him.
So now we all do it. Yeah, fair enough.
As I'm European, I don't get that reference.
You just added so much value to this podcast, Mitch.
Yep, there you go. Well, exactly. And that's it. I'm done. That's all I got.
Okay, bye.
Good night. I'm joined by Death, fellow Queenslander. How you doing, Death?
Hello, good mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm very good, man. Very good. It's been beautiful weather up here. So
it has been.
Show-offs.
Yeah, that's right. Have to get it in there like a little jab at how good our weather is. But
we all know we're Queensland. All right.
Don't worry. It'll be 40 degrees soon and 97% humidity. We'll all be hiding inside with air conditioning on, so we won't be bragging about it then. And I'm also joined by Mitch. Welcome back, Mitch,
hey.
from the UK and all the other things. I don't know where did you go?
UK.
Sorry.
Yeah, UK.
Just the UK.
UK.
Everyone went everywhere.
We went to the UK, Great Britain, the British Isles, England, and Scotland.
Nice.
So that's what, 5 places.
That's loads. Hang on, you're telling me that England and Scotland are like, they're attached by one island? They're the same, they're on the same island?
Oh, apparently so. Yep.
That's insane.
It's crazy.
That's insane. I had a hairdresser tell me that once, by the way. That's why I was referencing that. And also Sarah. Welcome, Sarah.
Hey, everyone. Good.
You good?
I'm good.
For those who don't know, I'm just going to say it straight off the bat. This is unfortunately Sarah's last recording of the Board Game BBQ podcast for a while. She has announced it, so people know. It is out there. And
I think that was the only one time that I've tagged everyone on the Discord, and I still felt guilty doing it. But
thank God you added on the Discord.
Yeah. Sorry, Adrian.
Yeah.
That's nasty.
Yeah, you're right. It is nasty.
Wow, that was weird.
Yeah. Is that really weird?
It was so weird. I was like, wow, that was my voice, but I didn't say anything. That was so weird.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm kind of turned off by that.
Well, that's fair enough. I can understand why you'd be turned off by that.
Oh, God, this is going to throw me off so bad.
Yeah, I bet.
Do I need your sausage?
What?
That's gone south really quick.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. That is too bad. So, yeah, we have some fun buttons to press while we're recording this episode. So I will proceed to keep pressing them while we record. So, but yeah, Sarah, sorry to come back to the realities and stuff, but yeah, thanks so much for being like part of this thing. Like we all built this together. Like it's insane. And I think as well, like I don't know if everyone else realizes, but there is a lot of work that goes into this thing, right? Like it's not just meet up for a week and hit record and then giggle and laugh, which is a big part of it, granted. Yeah. But, we do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. So,
well, we took us 40 minutes to get through your first intro attempts.
I was about to say.
Yes. Yeah. Def just lost his light. Something happened. Look, see, there's malfunctions going off everywhere. It's like Def's lights just went out in his room.
What is going on
dark.
today?
This is Sarah's fault. She's put a kink in the universe.
I have. Everything's gone off the rails now that I'm leaving.
Crazy.
Wow. I didn't realize I was that too much on here. I didn't realize I was responsible for keeping everything on rails. It's been amazing. Sorry, Adrian, I keep cutting you off.
I just thought we'd just get a few of words from you to see, just to have a chat about it before we start the pod. So
yeah, of course. I have been thinking about the podcast for the past couple of weeks, since I mentioned that I was going to leave. And I just kept remembering back in the start, we started this in the middle of the pandemic. And, I've heard a lot of people, even people that listen to the show about, they've said how much it meant to them during the pandemic. And I don't think I ever really talked about that for me because I just lost my dad. I got made redundant. I hated corporate too. I didn't want to go back to that kind of job. My relationship didn't survive COVID either. So the barbecue in a very real way was this, this beautiful thing that happened in the pandemic. and it brought us all together. You know, I found this new group of amazing people and an audience that like cared about what we were actually doing. It was just amazing. It was like kind of like the light at the end of the tunnel. And I wanted to say like a little bit about all of you, because you've all been like a huge part of my life for the last 3 years. And I'm not going to like disappear, obviously. And hopefully, you know, those friendships continue. But it's funny, like I joke that Mitch is a grump, when in actuality, he is like, he's really thoughtful and he's really sweet. And he actually, when I started, Mitch was the one that made the most effort to make me like feel a part of it. Because joining, you guys all like had already met, kind of like I came last in the group, and it was easy to feel like an outsider, especially with my anxiety. But Mitch really made an effort to make me not feel like that. Also, Mitch really loves to eat meat, but I was so surprised. And I think everybody knows that. And he sort of teases me. He likes to bring that up, I think. And like when we went down to Melbourne, he made the effort to like have all these vegan snacks in the car for me. And I just thought that was way sweet.
Yeah. No, well, they weren't very sweet because they're usually disgusting. But yeah, no, you know, I don't know. I appreciate that, and I just thought we were in Sydney, and as the Sydney team, the Sydney duo, we had to, you know, just had to make an effort to make sure you got in and got involved, and yeah, it was part of the crew. So I'll definitely be sad to see you go, and I'm replacing you with Jules. So
yeah, well, you've already done that. You've already done that with your not inviting me to play Unbreakable today. So speaking of Jules, so Jules, I still think Jules is evil, okay? But like Jules, if you're sad, like if you're having a bad day or you're sad, Jules will 100% reach out to you. Like he won't not reach out to you. Like that won't go under the radar. So he actually is really nice, just not when you're playing a game. And I think Jules, out of everyone, has probably driven the most miles for the barbecue. But I could be wrong. I don't know. Mitch, you've driven quite a lot of miles for the barbecue as well.
Just because Jules moved house 5 times doesn't count for the barbecue. Right? That's his own doing. Yeah.
But did you drive, Dev?
No, but I set the cars up. I set 2 cars up.
I'm not sure sitting in the plane in business class with all the trimmings. I don't think
doesn't count.
Yeah.
It's driving.
There's so many of us. Look, this is going to take me a while to get through. Okay. Adrian saw me lose like a friend of mine. Like we had a falling out and he wanted to do something special for me. And it was really funny because he asked me if I like tea, like fancy boba tea and stuff like that. And I was like, nah, not really. And it was too late because he'd already sent like Uber Eats to bring me tea. And I drank those teas. I actually really like those teas now. But yeah, he's also like, I'm just telling you some behind the scenes stuff, but like Adrian in the Discord, he's like, it doesn't matter how serious the conversation is, he will just throw in something like a GIMP GIF. And I'm just going to miss that.
Yeah. Someone told me once, don't ever do anything or say anything you wouldn't do at work. And then I was like, well, I would do anything anywhere, so it doesn't bother me. So I just did whatever.
Advice at all? Yeah. You were like, what? Yeah, I don't get it.
Yeah, for sure.
Dan is like an absolute beast when it comes to the podcast. Like for a long time, he was doing all the editing by himself. He does absolutely everything when it comes to the barbecue awards. Everything. Like everyone works really hard here, but like he doesn't expect a thing. Like he really does not expect a thank you or anything. And I just want to say thank you, Dan. Everyone appreciates it. Maybe we don't say that enough. Everyone thank Dan Moore.
I was going to say, Mitch, can you write that down?
Who's Dan Moore?
Can you write that down so we can thank him?
Oh, my God. Mike's infectious enthusiasm, I think, is like obvious to everyone. Okay. And he makes everyone feel good, I think. He's just always happy. But he also has his really sensitive side. And he's really sensitive about like the way people treat others. And I think that is super important in this hobby. We could all take a lesson from that. Speaking of which, I want to tell a story about the last game day at the end, right? So we're all sitting around in a circle and we had like a drink and, you know, we're celebrating, whatever, relaxing. And poor Mitch is there just chatting away, just having a good old time. And then Mike used a filter on him and just was just doing some stupid eye filter or whatever. And it was like this phone got passed around the circle and everyone's laughing. And you know what it was like when it came and sat in my lap? It was like, if you've seen the Pez dispenser episode in Seinfeld, you know, when Elaine just gets the Pez dispenser in front of her and then she just can't stop laughing. It was like that to me. It was just so random. It was just so unexpected that I couldn't help laughing. Well, Connor didn't laugh at all. And I just want to say that, like, that to me, I was like, you are a good friend. You are like a true friend. I am not. You are. Like, Connor is the friend everyone wants to have. Like, he has your back, you know? And I think we've all had each other's backs. Really, through the lifespan of barbecue. Like, we haven't agreed on everything. Like, we have disagreed on a lot.
I thought you were just going to say we haven't agreed on anything there for a minute. I was like, that's fair.
Yeah. No, that's not true. We do agree on some things, but, you know, it's tough, I think, with so many people. Anyway. And Def, I've come to you with my dumbest thoughts, my most anxious thoughts, my just full of self-doubt, you know, even anger sometimes. I've told you about like stupid decisions I've made in my life. Like, you have never once judged me. I've never even felt like an inkling of judgment from you. And I think we all need friends like that. Like, thank you so much. Thank you all so much. I'm not going to cry, damn it. Don't let me cry. And of course, thanks to everyone for listening. And, you know, some of the messages people sent to me today after I said I was leaving just really meant so much to me. So thanks.
Haven't you forgotten someone?
No.
I was just checking.
Oh my God. God damn it, Mitch.
You're making me paranoid now because I'm like, has she done everything?
No.
She's checking. She's looking at
I'm
it.
like
Freaking
out.
I'm
like, no, I haven't.
Oh, dear.
I'm the other one. I'm the.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you're right. You are the last one. Oof. Okay, cool. So, after all that heavy stuff has been spoken, yeah, thanks loads, Sarah, for being part of this. Like, you kind of hit the nail on the head. Like, during COVID, we were all in sort of lockdown and we couldn't do as much together. And this was a great way to still have sort of a social interaction and make new friends. And yeah, it's just grown into something that I don't think any of us would have really expected, to be honest. It was just a bunch of people that really, to be honest, I'd say 50% of us don't really know what we're talking about. You know, Def and Sarah are pretty much the best, the best ones at talking about games.
Yes,
but you know, it's for me anyway. I feel like I've grown to understand games more because you've kind of helped me with that. Yeah. So, and you introduced me to Barrage, like huge thing, you know, and being all excited to talk to Isaac Childress and getting to play test games of Vital, and you know, all these things have been like a massive life journey that you just wouldn't forget. Even if the barbecue stopped tomorrow, we would never forget those memories. Do you know what I mean? They're things that are just epic on scale, almost like a bucket list of board gaming adventure. And yeah, I mean, man, we played that Weather Machine playtest for like 7.5 hours
until like 3:30
until like 2:30. Yeah.
I remember we were messaging each other, Sarah. I was like, can we get this game to finish? Is there a way we can cooperate behind the scenes I don't care how we're going to lose or like, can we get this game done, please, at like 2:30 a.m. or something? It was like, oh no, the game's going to go for another round.
Oh man, it was so funny. Like we would we couldn't remember what the triggers were to end the game too. It was like, we've got to figure that out. What is it? Let's do this. But it was like amazing. But I think we were all just at 3:30 a.m. Our patience was wearing thin, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a very different game back then as well.
Yeah.
So it's kind of cool to see that process and see it change and and evolve. But
playtesting's been one of the most fun benefits to having the podcast, for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Cool. Well, you'll still be around and hanging out in the Discord and game days and PlayCon and all these other things. So yeah, it's not a wake, you know.
Right, right, 100%.
It's not a goodbye. It's a see you later.
It is. And it's like, we only have, like, each of us have an amount of creative energy, in our lives that we put into things. And, I felt like I wasn't putting in enough for the barbecue. And, I guess that might happen, to one of you guys as well in the future or whatever. And new blood will come along or whatever, that might happen, and that would be really cool. And I'm sort of been doing my design stuff.
Well, I was going to say, ever since you shared with us the stuff that you're doing and the plan that you're doing with your design and things, and I know that all of us are super keen to see you have as much success as you can there, and we hope that we can help you, at least with sharing that around and getting that out in the community, because I know you're going to get signed by a publisher soon. It's just a matter of time.
Thank you.
But that's, I totally think that you're just going on to the next phase of what you're going to do, and we'll still be here and we'll still support you however we can in that, and we wish you all the very, very best.
Thank you. I'm going to be one of those annoying people. Right? I'll be one of those annoying people that's like, play test my game.
Yeah.
None of them are annoying.
It'll be interesting, though, to have you on as a guest in the future and talk about your games and things like that. That'll be pretty cool.
All right.
That'll be a bit different.
I don't want to say too much along these lines just in case I fail and my games are crap. And then it's like, oh no, I said to everyone I was going to come back as a designer. Yeah. It might happen.
But we'll just talk about how great you are, even if it's not available.
Okay.
Yeah. It's strictly limited supply run. 8 copies.
One each for the barbecue.
Exactly.
No, thanks, guys. It's been awesome. It's been really fun. Should we talk about games?
Yeah. No, I have an announcement.
Oh, okay.
Well, it's not a serious announcement. Something came to my attention last week that I have announced and let the Patreons know, but I felt it should also be announced to the greater audience and all the other listeners. But we got hacked or robbed or whatever you want to call it, because somebody has made bootleg Board Game BBQ merch, right?
Right.
And it is hilarious because not only have they used the old logo, but it's the old logo with 4 kind of phrases, that sum up the Board Game BBQ, what it's all about. So they've gone with passionate, awesome. Enthusiastic, we've got that in spades. Mostly broke. Mostly broke. Like that, I feel like that's a dig at me personally. And then Board Game BBQ at the end. So the mostly broke thing. I wonder where they got that from.
Isn't it from our website?
It's on our website, dude.
Yeah, we have that on our website.
Oh my god,
that was awesome. Something we put up there. Ages ago.
It's obviously some sort of an AI thing or whatever, but when I was trying to figure out some sizes for some volunteer shirts, I typed in Board Game BBQ merch to get the link, and this was the second thing that came up, and it just made me laugh a lot. So I want the new logo on it, but I want Jules to make these shirts for our merch.
Yep.
So if enough people hassle him, we can get Jules to make these shirts so I can buy one. Because I don't want to buy one to this guy and give him the $4 that he'll make from the shirt, because that's just wrong.
Board Game BBQ.
You want it with the new logo and that.
I want it with the new logo.
Bootleg edition.
It's just passionate, enthusiastic, mostly broke. Board Game BBQ. That does sum us up, right? So, I thought that was brilliant.
What were the other slogans? Can you share with us what the other slogans were?
I don't even know.
Oh,
There's just a bunch of them.
Not sure you're allowed to say those words on the public broadcast.
Maybe not. But it made me chuckle quite a lot. Yeah, I thought it was funny.
I actually think it's kind of cool that we have shirts out there that aren't our shirts. Like someone is trying to make money from us. It's just a bizarre thought to me.
Isn't it? What I think is funny is we can't make any money off our merch.
Right.
How does someone else think they can make money off our merch?
I also find it funny that his shirts are almost double the price of our shirts.
Oh, really?
They're like $58.
Well, that's how he makes it then. He's obviously overcharging people.
To be fair, he's using a lot more words than we are on our shirts.
Yeah, true.
We need that slogan on it.
True. So.
Oh well, there you go.
But I thought that was funny. It made me laugh a lot, and I really enjoyed it. And I haven't been on the podcast since to sort of talk about it. So
it made me really happy. I was like, oh wow, imitation's the best form of flattery. This is great. But no one else was really that impressed.
Did we get it taken down? I can't remember.
I emailed Redbubble.
Yeah, right.
But that's it.
Okay.
But I never heard anything, so probably not. They'll probably just sit there for 5 years.
Yeah, right.
So that's all good. It just made me laugh. I thought it was cool. Thought it was funny. I just thought I'd share. I'll share a picture in the Facebook and Discord when the podcast goes live, so people can look at the shirt and have a good laugh.
If you're listening and you're the guy who decided to rip off our logo and make money off our 4 things, attributes, let us know. Say hi in the comments.
Isn't Redbubble fan art though? I thought it was sort of.
Is it? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think fan art is just ripping off someone else's logo, though. Is it? Could I make a Coca-Cola T-shirt and get away with that? Would that be okay? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah,
we don't know.
You could do another, an artist's impression of the Coca-Cola logo and put a crazy Coca-Cola logo. I'm just saying, I bought stuff from Redbubble. Is that bad? Is that bad?
Depends.
I don't think it's going to hell worthy, but I think it's probably a bit like.
It depends what you get. If the person who's selling it is, selling content or art that they've created, and they're the owners of the license, then it's fine.
Yeah, but they're not though. They're not the owners of the license.
But it depends. If you've bought a Star Wars shirt off Redbubble, then probably not.
Right.
But then, does Disney need more money? I don't know.
Right.
Well, they just lost 200 million with Secret Wars, so maybe. Anyway. Let's talk about some board games, guys.
Moral of the story, help Disney.
Full circle. Exactly. Disney needs your help. Buy more. But yeah, I was really lucky enough to play a heap of games recently myself, so I'm happy to kick it off. I got to teach High Society to a group that no one had played High Society before, and I heard the words uttered from Dana's mouth, "I am auction dumb," which I thought was brilliant because she's not super confident in auction games, but it was a great game. And it's I tell you what, that game's so fun to teach because it's such a simple concept. You go through the whole thing, and then when you hit the end with a kicker of, if you spend the most money, you can't win, everyone goes, oh God.
Yeah.
Do you tell them that rule after you've played the first round? And
it's not Jules. Come on.
It's not Jules.
No.
Jules,
but
Jules spent all this money on the first hand. The first card.
But yeah, I got to teach that, and it was great. It was good fun. And I also got taught Messina 1347.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
And I had been waiting to play that for ages. And it was one of those games that came out and it was like, hype. This game's hype. And you just saw it everywhere. I saw pictures of it at Essen. I saw people commenting on it on other groups and I got my copy at Essen. I'm taking it back to the States or wherever, and I'm going to play it. And massive, everywhere. Maybe it's because I kept looking at Messina and, I was getting feeds from the algorithms to show me more Messina stuff to make me miss it more and want it more. But I got to play it for the first time, and I really, really liked it. I thought it was fantastic.
Yeah, it's
I
good,
really
isn't
enjoyed it.
We played that set up at Castle Hill.
I remember it was awesome.
Yeah. You whipped me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that too.
Yeah. The player board's puzzle's great.
Yes. And I didn't do fantastic, but I felt like I was doing really well. So I think that's kind of important because I was going up a bunch of the tracks, and I was going up the middle track, which unlocked the other worker nice and early. And I was, I didn't get many points, but I just felt like lots was happening, and I had a lot of decisions to make. And yeah, I thought it was a fantastic game. I was super grateful for the teach, and it's definitely a game that I would play again in a heartbeat,
Yeah, it definitely seemed like there was a lot of different kind of strategies you could go for. I mean, it's been ages since I played it, but I remember thinking, I could just get really good at moving people through my board, getting them to.
Yes.
Because there's those things you unlock where are you quarantining them or something?
Yes.
Yeah.
Quarantine
you have the 2 boards, so you have the quarantines, but then you can also put them into your village, which then moves them around and unlocks other bonuses and stuff as well. So there's definitely different ways to do it. And I think that was the thing, Sarah, when we played. I think you went pretty heavy on the tracks,
right? The
popularity and the deity or whatever. And I stayed well away from the tracks. I didn't get I don't think I moved up at all, hardly. A couple of steps, and that was it. And I think you won in the end. But I think what you said, Adrian, was bang on point. I still had a great time. There was heaps of stuff to do. I was able to do all different other things and felt like I was successful in doing that. But I didn't have to do one particular thing in order to A, have a good time, and B, still be in the game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I even got told at the start of the game, there's ships, we put the ships in, but no one really does that. Like, they're not, I've never really seen many people do it. And I was like, until today, watch this. And I was like, I got ships. I did a couple of ships and I got like a good bonus from the start, but it did hamstring me a little bit because I was kind of boxed in that corner from where the ships are. So it's hard to move your worker around without paying and to make big steps. But hey, like I said, it was fun. It was a great game, very thinky. It wasn't super long. Like, it was a little bit long because it was a teach and everything. So it's obviously,
how many players?
Has to be taken into account. 4 players. Played it with 4, and yeah, it was great. So I would play it again. Like I said, would I buy it? For me, I don't know. Like, I'd like to get it, but if it was on offer or something, if I could get it cheap secondhand, I'd probably pick it up.
Yeah,
because it was that interesting. But I even said to Sarah, like, the action selection thing, and well, not even the action selection, the way that your worker moves around your garden or your estate, which is your player board, it runs on these different tracks, unlocking different bonuses and abilities. And it was like the one from Anunnaki, but like light, like very, very light version of the other one. And that was kind of cool to see, like, I kind of know this system a bit. I know how these things work a little bit, already. But
it's kind of like double worker placement, though, because you have the workers that move around the city, and they've got that sort of movement puzzle where you go to certain hexes that will give you certain bonuses and clearing out the rats and whatnot. But then you also have the immigrants or the village people who come into your own sort of personal town.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, but they're the little discs. So you have the meeples and the discs. They're both sort of workers in their own right, but they have totally different functions. So you kind of get 2 different worker placement games in one.
That's right.
Yes.
It's very, very true. It's very good. I loved it. And yeah, I'd love to play it again. So it's definitely worth checking out. If you know someone that's got it sitting there and you want to, the teach isn't that big. It's pretty simple at its core, but the decision space is massive. Like, you look at the puzzle and you're like, oh God, where am I going now? What do I need? And yeah, it gets the action spaces that get blocked and stuff. And it's just, it's super interesting. It's well worth checking it out. So that's pretty much for me. That's what I got to play. It was fun. I got to play Cat in a Box as well, Mitch, and I thought it was brilliant.
Yeah,
it's a good game.
I know that you were said it was okay. Were you good on it?
Yeah, I like it, and I liked it. Well, I played it a bunch. I've taught it to heaps of people at the game days and stuff. I don't think it's my favorite trick taker because I thought it doesn't really have that. The trick taking. There's not a competitive thing. There is, but there isn't that much competitiveness in the actual trick taking. You're kind of playing the cards and trying to win, but it's not like Niet where you're like, bam, we're going to load you up with negative points, or we're trying to score and win those tricks for our team, and that sort of stuff. It's kind of the competition comes into the placement on the board and avoiding the paradoxes and that sort of stuff.
Correct. That board, the paradoxy board, and where you're sort of placing out what cards you're playing, that puzzle is very strategic. Like, when you place those out and you start to math out what cards are left, where people can place things, that does get very interesting. Like, I love that bit in the game. I thought it was fantastic. Like, I like that more than anything.
That's how you get a lot of points too, right? Like, you've got to get those tokens in the right spots or something.
In the biggest adjacent groups.
Right, that's it. Yeah.
Yes. Clusters.
So it's almost like area control within the trick-taking genre.
Yeah.
Or area majority.
But then once the numbers start to get used, you can kind of math out what number, especially by the time it's like there's only 2 rounds left. Essentially, if you're playing with 4 players, there's only 8 cards and there's not that many slots left. So you can kind of look at it and go, well, okay, all the 3s have been played, all the 4s have been played, all the 5s have been played, and you can kind of look at what's available, to still be played and what might still be out. And it's interesting because there's always that element of surprise because you all ditch a card at the start. So there's always 4 cards missing. So you never have 100% certainty of what's actually available from the pool of cards left, which is always very good because,
I think
it happened to me a couple of times.
Too, don't you? You play all but one?
Yes.
So there's still going to be another 2. One left over, yeah.
Yeah. But if you've got the 2 cards, like let's say you had a 3 and a 4, if there's a 3 and a 4 left, at least you've got one space to play those cards. Whereas sometimes you might have no spaces to play those cards. But that was another game that was pretty like short and sweet, but I really enjoyed it. And I could see that it's one of those ones like 500. If you played it a lot, I feel like you could get really strategic in that placement. Like if you just played that as your trick-taking game, on a Friday night at the pub or whatever, and it was your go-to trick-taker, I could see that nuance of where those get placed and what you've got left really kind of starting to gel and click in your brain of, what you can actually do in the game. But yeah, I thought it was great. What about you guys? What's everyone else been playing?
I've actually played a fair few games in the last little while since I've been away, or back from being away. A couple of small ones and a couple of big ones.
I was being sarcastic.
Well, yeah, I've really only played big ones, and one of the biggest ones, easily the biggest one, and probably the one that's taken up most of my time over the last couple of weeks, is Mr. President, which Dev spoke about last week on the last episode on the pod, or the one before, one of those. I've only played one turn. I haven't played the full 4 turns because that would have taken me about 6 months. Because the way I did it, I set it up on my game table, and then I would play a few actions, and then I'd go do something, and I'd come back to it and play a few more actions, and then go do something and come back. So it took me, and I kid you not, it took me about 5 days, I think, to play the 4 turns. It took me 2 hours, and I timed it because I remember Def talking about it on the pod. It took me 2 hours and 7 minutes to set it up, which is, people will go, oh my God, that's a long time. Yes, it is a long time, but it's because it's sort of very fiddly. Every single country that you're setting up, you have to say, this country, there's 3 tracks for this country, and these need to be set at this point, at this point, at this point. So you've got to find the tokens, set them at that point. Then there's the military. These are the military that are located in that country, and you've got to set them all up individually. So you're kind of setting up all these little boards within the big boards themselves. So it does take a bit of time. It's not difficult to set it up. It just takes time to pull all the tokens out. That's a bit fiddly. But
Are you exaggerating though?
2 hours and 7 minutes, I timed it.
Oh my God.
Oh, it took me 2 hours as well, and Mitch didn't believe in me, and I was like, okay, well, you try then.
If you did it now,
yeah,
do you think you'd be able to half the time?
I think maybe only because what I've done is I've packed it away, and I've packed it into like all the tokens that go on this board. I've packed into a whole bunch of little baggies and in a big bag that says, this is the main board. This is because part of that 2 hours and 7 minutes is going, oh, okay, where are the presidential attributes tokens?
Yeah,
and shuffling through all these tokens, looking for the very specific set of tokens.
Yeah.
So I think I could probably cut that time down once you sort of were used to doing it. The other thing with it, though, is like Def said on the other one, and like everybody knows, the game goes for, if you're going to play the full 4 years, which is 4 full turns, it's going to go for 10 hours more plus. So if you're playing a game for that long, then 2 hours to set up a game that you're intending to sit down and play for 12 hours, whether or not you're going to play it 12 hours solid or you're going to play it periodically when you have time, it's still not a huge commitment to play a game that you're going to play for that long. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a good ratio. It's still a little intense, but
it's a little daunting, I'll admit that. And I was saying this to Jules, look, I enjoyed it. I can see the fun. I was very, very, very looking forward to this game because Def and I have been watching it on P500s for the past year or so, Def.
Yeah.
Waiting for it to come out. The only knock that I have on it is, at its heart, it feels like the game is a bit tower defensy. I don't know if you'd agree, Def.
I understand what you mean, yeah.
Yeah, well, you've got if you've got a game where there's 4 different tracks and there's things that are coming in at you and you're trying to balance keeping all those under control, like putting your fingers in the dam or something so that you don't get one to burst. It kind of feels a little bit like that, except you have about 100 tracks. There's so many different, because every country that even in the international section has a conflict level. It has a stability level,
instability, or whatever,
instabilities, crises, and then you've got about 8 or 9 of those that each have 3 of them themselves. So there's so many different tracks. So you do feel like you're kind of just putting out hundreds of little fires, just trying to stay on top of everything, which is okay, and it's definitely got a fun element to it. The only thing I was a little bit disappointed with, and I don't know if you had this, Steph, as well, was I was expecting a little bit more narrative, a little bit more flavor text to it. So like you will turn over an event card and it'll say natural disaster, and then these things happen as part of the natural disaster that you have to then execute. But it doesn't tell you what it was. Just a little bit of saying like flooding in New Orleans after a cyclone or something like that, to say that was what the natural disaster was. Just so you can imagine, we've got to respond to the cyclone that's happened in New Orleans, or, bushfires in California. That's the natural disaster. But it doesn't do that. It just says terrorist activity or natural disaster or scandal in the White House. It doesn't go deeper than that on a thematic level.
Right. So they haven't wanted to make it like a historic game then.
Well, they actually did, because there's some scenarios that are supposed to be built around actual world events that happen. You can either play it in sandbox mode where you just manage everything as it goes and it just happens, or there are scenarios that are set up and structured supposed to be, and I haven't played any of those yet, so I won't comment on how accurate or effective they are, but they're supposed to be representations or re-implementations of what actually happened in those years. So I don't know. I just thought and like things like, I would have rather to see an event card where you'd turn it over and it would say, event blah, blah, blah has happened in the world. Call it North Korea have started building missiles or something like that. You can choose to do A or B or C, and give you some options of things you could choose to do. And you make a decision about what you want to do, and then you'll go off, and that will impact, the tracks on the board in different ways based on the decision you make, without knowing what that specific outcome would be. I would like to have seen that, so you can actually feel like you're going, how am I going to respond to this particular event? As opposed to, a terrorist group popped up over there, random, faceless, nameless terrorist group level 2. I better do a anti-terror action on that group to keep them in check. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Would you prefer it to say drone strike?
Yeah.
No,
it does actually have some drone strikes, but yes.
Oh, okay.
Go on, Jeff.
No, I see what you mean. The game is so big and it has so many things you have to manage that it has the risk of, becoming a tracker, a game where you're fighting tracks as opposed to thematically. And I think we're kind of spoiled as well from all the previous GMT games that you and I have played, especially in the Coin series, where they're so thematic and you kind of really dive into the history of it and the theme. And the actions that you take, you can see them in your head playing out in the real world. And there is, I guess, what you're saying is there's a bit of risk there of Mr. President falling into that trap a bit, which, is fair, I think.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it. And I enjoyed sitting down and going, okay, where are all my tracks at? And what actions do I need to take in order to keep things under control? Because we don't want anything getting, because pretty much every track, if it gets crazy, it blows up into, if you don't address this now, well, they're going to go to war. Or if I don't keep an eye on Iran and Korea and their nuclear production, that's going to hurt me down the track. So it's just about keeping an eye on things to make sure everything stays within that sort of reasonable level. You might go, I could do this action to improve my media relationships, but they're pretty good at the moment. I probably need to address the crisis over here first. This domestic crisis, it's going to turn into an event if I don't do that. So you're kind of just looking at your tracks. Well, I did anyway. Maybe that's just the way I play it. Yeah, I just felt it took me a little bit out of the imagination, the experience, the story, back to a math keeping, just stay on top of all the piles.
Yeah. So what's the verdict? Was it worth the wait?
Yeah, look, it's still great. And I think I was packing it up because, Jules was coming over today to play Too Many Bones, so we needed to get the table space. So I packed it up and I thought, am I going to get this out again? Am I going to go through the 2-hour setup and am I going to? And I think the answer is yes. I will do that, but it will only be in a point in time where I've, say, got a week off or, a large chunk of time where I know that I can sit down and say, I'll be able to dedicate a few chunks of 5-hour blocks that I can sit down and play the game. Otherwise, I don't know if I'd get it out for, a few hours and then pack it up again.
You need a staycation to play, Mr.
Yeah,
President.
you kind of do. That's right. Yeah. So that was one of mine. I'll let you guys.
It does sound so good because it's so unique. Do you know what I mean? I would never buy it. Obviously, I wouldn't be able to get through all the rule books and stuff, but I really respect and am intrigued by its uniqueness. That's what really intrigues me. So,
and it's funny you should say that because Dev said to me, well, I think he said to everyone on the pod, but when he was talking about it on the podcast, I know he was talking to me. He said, once you get into it and you start you've gone through the turn sequence book and stuff the first time, it actually is really easy. He's 100% correct. Not to say that he's ever incorrect about anything else, but he was bang on. It's not hard to play. It's not a game where you're like, oh man, how do I do this again? What's this rule? I'm going to have to, you do have to look up charts, but only to roll the dice and go make a reference on the chart. It's not difficult. All of the actions are pretty easy. Yeah.
Yeah, but I have intellect lag, so I wouldn't do so well with it. But it's just, I don't know. The fact that there's multiple rule books terrifies me.
Right.
I've lost Def. Sorry, Def.
How simple can it be if there's that many books? That's my thought process.
Yeah. I'm scared at one rule book that's quite large. 13 books terrifies me.
But there's only one book that is all the rules.
That's right.
All the other books are like reference guides. So all the other books are like player aids, where it'll be
in a book.
In a book, yeah, because it's saying China. It's China's turn. So to find out what China does, follow the flow chart in the China book.
Yeah,
that's all you do.
Flow charts. So exciting. No, I'm kidding. I'm just kidding.
What about you, Sarah? What have you been playing and doing?
I actually played the third in that series of 20-minute games. Blitzkrieg, Caesar.
Oh, Dogfight.
I've played Dogfight.
Oh, do tell.
It's totally different. Okay, so it's got a different designer. I didn't even realize this. When we picked it up, I didn't realize it was a different designer. It is a different designer. It's a totally different kind of game. Okay. Because I think Blitzkrieg and Caesar, are a little similar with their area control. This is more this is a tactical, I want to say it's kind of almost a mini X-Wing kind of style, right? So it's a dogfight. You're fighting. There's two planes fighting in the air, and the board is just, it's a really small board. There's only a few spaces on it. It's just in a circle, right? So these planes are kind of flying around each other, trying to get behind the other to shoot at it, right? Got to be within 3 spaces. You can't be more than 3 spaces behind it. Otherwise, you're too far away. You can go on the same space, but basically you can't shoot, right? So one's, above the other and you can't shoot that way. And similar to those first 2 games, you do have tokens that you can play, and that's dictating how much movement you have and whether you can shoot and what the strength of your shot is. So you might have a tile that says 3 and it's got a power of 2 attack, right? And it will, if I can manage to maneuver 3 and be within striking distance of that other plane, then I can hit it for 2. And I think you've got basically 6 hit points and then your plane is down. But it's really neat. It sounds way simple and it sounds too simple, but here's the rub. So every plane is different, right? There's a whole bunch of unique planes in there. So I don't have the same movement style as your plane does. And the first 2 planes, it's really cool. They've got the red one, which is fast, and the blue one is slow. So you've got to learn, right? You've got to learn what the other plane can do and how you're actually going to be able to position yourself properly. And the even cooler part of it is that there's actually these little loop-de-loop spaces on the board that you can do. So you can actually double back and attack someone that way. So it's basically a full circle, but then there's these 2 at each side. There's 2 little loops that you can do, and you can actually hide in the loop and just be in a cloud and not be hit as well. So there's a safe on one side of the board. There's a safety space that you can hang out in. Hopefully the other plane flies past, right? And you're safe. And then on one side, not only are you safe when you're in that loop, but you can also shoot out of it if they're on a specific spot. You can actually shoot out of the cloud. So that's really cool. There's also, just like the other games, I think there's, extra stuff. So there's scenarios you can play in that as well. And there's solo scenarios. I had so much fun playing this because, yes, Mitch.
I have a question. Just
yeah.
Didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine.
You mentioned before with the aeroplanes that there's different types of planes and stuff. How do you decide? Do you just pick your plane at the start of the game, or do you get them through the game and you change planes? How do you decide who gets to play what plane?
Well, actually, we just, we were playing it a fair bit and we just swapped over. So I started with the fast plane, and then I was playing with Mo, and he was convinced that the slow plane just was no good. And I'm like, fine, I'll play the slow plane. And then sure enough, I did lose like the first 2 times. And then I'm like, I'm going to win with this slow plane. There's got to be a way to do it, right? So I guess like we just randomized it.
Yeah,
really. Right. But I think I think it was really clever that they made those 2 planes the first 2 that you have, because of the way that they move is so different.
So with all the different ones, there's always 2 sort of matched up that are balanced together?
I don't think so. I think that the rest is just in a pack. Like the rest is just in a packet, and it's just, you know, play with whatever you want kind of thing. Right. I mean, there's not a huge, like there's some like planes that I think don't have to move. They can move 0 and shoot. That's awesome. I didn't play with one of those ones yet.
They're called helicopters?
You know what they are. They're those little World War II planes. Okay, there's no helicopters in it.
Biplanes, right?
Sorry, the biplanes. Yeah,
a biplane, is that what it is?
Yeah, I think so.
Do they stay still in the air? Do they? I've never seen one of those.
Oh, come on, it's a game. Come on, go with it. And then, yeah. So
does it really last 20 minutes though? Like, is it a really like? Because those other games are pretty short. Do you feel like this one does last the 20 minutes as well, or is it pretty long? It sounds longer.
No, it's not longer, and it might even be shorter. And actually, Mo was saying that he thinks it's a little bit more random, and it's a little bit like too, you know, it's not thinky enough. But I actually, maybe I'm just not as smart as he is, I don't know. But I actually thought it was really quite thinky. Like I was thinking a lot about what potential tiles Mo had left to play. You know, like there's a little bit of, you know, I'm not very good at card counting. My memory's not that good, but it was easy for me to kind of get an idea of what he still had, because it gives you those sheets that says, okay, this plane has this move and this many 1 move and this many 4 move. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. I knew, like at a particular point, I knew, oh, he absolutely does not have this one an attack. So I knew he couldn't get me, you know, things like that. So I think that I really liked it. For me, it was a breath of fresh air. I like that they didn't go with the whole area control mini war thing again for the 3rd one. I think this one's really different. But I think because it is different, I don't know if people are going to expect this and maybe not like it, because it is very different to the other 2. But yeah, I really liked X-Wing. I really like maneuvering around and things like that. Obviously, this is not as good as X-Wing, but it is like a fun little tactical game for that amount of time.
It sounds like, I don't know, I played a game, or I have a game called Fighters of the Pacific, which is, again, it's just a dogfight game with planes and things like that. But and I found that it sounds like a lot like that, in that a lot of the strategy was around movement and positioning. So, like, you were constantly trying to get around behind your enemy or your opponent, but they're also trying to get around behind you. So this is kind of like chasing your tail type deal.
Right.
Yeah. And interesting thing I found about the Fighters Pacific was that, like you said with the planes, these ones, none of them could stop, because if they're moving at a certain speed, the fast ones have to go further than the slower ones, because they're moving through the air at that sort of speed, and you can't just turn the brakes on or whatever. Well, I guess you can. I've never been a pilot. Maybe you can. I don't know. But yeah, so it's kind of like this movement puzzle as well, because you couldn't, some planes can't turn as sharp as another plane or whatever else. So they're going to have a harder time getting around behind, whereas the ones that have maybe go slower but turn tighter, you know. So it was all about, I haven't seen another game that has that kind of movement cat and mouse puzzle. But it sounds like this one kind of hits that mark.
Totally. And I think that's what they're trying to show. Like, they're trying to show that maneuverability with the slow plane, but it's a simplified version of that, what you're talking about.
Well, and the Fighters of the Pacific, I think, is an hour and a half, 2 hours or something. So, yeah, it's probably a much more sort of longer commitment than your one's, a bit of a quick in and out.
Yeah, some of it was like, you know, 7 minutes long for a game, you know. And it has it has a double-sided board again, and on the other side of the board it's pretty cool, because you've got like half of the spaces in the circle are one color and the other half are another color, and you can't shoot across colors, so it means there's less opportunity to shoot at the other person. It becomes a little bit tighter. Those games were slightly longer, I think, for obvious reasons. And I really want to get it. So we got it in the US because I don't think it's available in Australia yet. I think it's still on pre-order. Don't quote me on that, but I'm definitely going to get it when it comes out here because I want to go through all the scenarios. I thought it was really fun. I really liked it.
Sounds really good. When you first started talking, I actually thought you were referencing the game that Mitch had, the other one.
The other one that
it does sound kind of similar.
Yeah,
but I mean, they're all in. I think Mitch's is a bit longer though. It's not one of those 20-minute games, right, Mitch?
Yeah, no, mine's a bit more convoluted.
Yeah.
They bring in aircraft carriers and islands and ground-to-air missiles and stuff.
All sorts.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot more convoluted.
Yeah, and this one, like a lot of the strategy was just trying to work out what your opponent was going to do, trying to guess what they were going to do and where they were going to be.
There's lots of those 2-player games that are doing really well at the moment. So
yeah.
And the other two are great as well, Blitzkrieg and Caesar. Jules loves Caesar, I know that. So what about yourself, Def? What have you been playing, bud?
Oh, I have played quite a few new games the last few weeks. I bought a few new games and kind of smashed through them the last few weeks. Latest one, which I think it's the first game this year that completely broke my brain. I wanted to resign like on the spot, was Horseless Carriage yesterday. And I thought the game was great, but this special puzzle, it was so difficult and so complex and so fiddly and so, I don't know.
The factory board, like the player factory board.
The player factory board. Yeah. And it was just like, at some point in one of the rounds, usually it's just 4 or 5 people staring down for 20 minutes. And in one of the rounds, I just gave up. I gave up and just removed everything from my board. I said, I'm not building anything this round because I just can't figure it out. So I think I need to, now that I've seen a full game and understand the relationship between the tiles a bit better, because you need to have the A tiles follow through and connect to the A tile of your main line that is producing the cars and stuff, and B connecting to the Bs and stuff. I think my head would hurt less the second time, but yeah, I was almost defeated from it. So I need to play it again. I also got the last coin game I didn't have in my collection, Liberty or Death. I see it right there behind your right shoulder, Mitch, which I also played, and I thought it was very good. It has a very good balance between the political side and the focus on the military activities, I guess, because the British count their casualties as one of the victory conditions for the revolutionary forces, if you want to call them that.
I tried to play this game on my lunch break while I was working, and I kept getting interrupted by work that I had to come back to. So I was very annoyed that I didn't get through a full game. But one thing I noticed, Steph, and I don't know if you feel the same way, I felt like the factions that are on co-related kind of on the same side, as it always in every coin game, right? They've always got some sort of, relationship between certain factions, much stronger and tied together in this game than they are in previous games.
Yes, so they are. And to the point where you almost think that they almost potentially even, push these factions, elevated them into something more than what the role they played in the actual conflict was. For the purposes of the game. I mean, one of the factions, the French, they can't even actively do things that push them towards their victory condition directly. They have to give resources to
the rebellion,
to the rebellion for them to take action, stuff like that. But yes, they're much, much tighter. There's a much bigger dependency there, which was interesting to see. But that's the last one. I'm pretty happy I got it, and now I've played all 10 of them. Well, technically, I've played 9 of them. Colonial Twilight, I didn't get through a full game. I didn't really like it, and the theme didn't do much for me. It was also the 2-player game, so I sold that one. But I've played all of them, so I'm pretty happy with that. I played Bear Raid, which broke everybody's brain at the table.
How good is it?
It's just bonkers fun.
Yeah.
And pushing different buttons and messing with the shares and messing with the dice and just grabbing all those dice and holding them ransom there. I thought it was great fun in the last, an hour maybe? So.
Oh man, we had long game. I've played long games of that. People taking it so seriously.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys at the game day were like on that for a decent amount of time.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, people just trying to math it out, figure out what everyone was doing. Yeah, because once you kind of have an idea of what other people are doing, it starts becoming a little bit more strategic than you think. Sure, there is a bit, there's dice rolling in it, there's a little bit of randomness in it, but it's actually not as random and silly as I thought it was.
As Cole Worley would say, it's not randomness, it's unpredictability.
Unpredictability, yeah. For sure.
It's John Company. There's no randomness in John Company. There's unpredictability. Okay. But yeah, I've played lots of new games. I played Tiletum, which I've enjoyed and was good to see enjoying that, given there was a bit of disappointment with Tekenu, which I sold. So yeah.
I'm with you on that, by the way. I've bought Tekenu and I've played it. I enjoyed it. It was fine. But it didn't like blow my socks off like Teo did.
No.
I was like,
oh,
it was
wow.
fine.
I don't agree.
You're the opposite.
Yeah, I loved Tekenu. It's so hard.
That's right. You can be wrong.
It's such a challenge.
Yeah, it is hard. And I don't know what it was. And I played it 2-player and that was not a problem because I like learning with 2. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
it's just more focused for me. It's easier. It's like quippy turns as well, back and forward. It's not like you're not waiting 10 minutes and unfortunately, I'm one of those people that, quippy turns.
Quippy turns, everyone knows that.
Quippy turns. I got intellectual lag. Leave me alone. But I end up just getting lost and start chatting to people, and it gets back to me, and I'm like, oh crap, it's my turn. I'll just do action A. That'll do. But I enjoyed the rondel system with the dice and stuff, or whatever you would call that in the middle. I really did enjoy that, but I don't know. I just wasn't enamored with it. I haven't even played it since. So
that's the bit I enjoyed as well. I thought it was quite hard with the pyramid impacting the dice and how you can use them. It's just that the rest felt a bit, I don't know, it just felt like a bit of jumbled in mechanics. Like there was this piece where you placed the pillars and this other piece with the buildings and this other random track. I didn't feel it. Like it's fine. Like not. It's gotten some great reviews and it's lots of people love it. It just wasn't for me. Tiletum has been a good success so far and loving the decision space there as well.
Complete sidebar, but kind of not. The other T game that I think is phenomenal, and I think it's my favorite. If I got to play it more, I think it would be my top, but that's Tabanusi.
Really?
I loved that. Really? That was so good. It's so interactive. It's great. And I really enjoy that interactivity in that game. Like, I think it was brilliant.
Okay. I haven't played it yet.
It has nothing to do but like that I won that game or anything, especially against Harry and Mitch. Nothing to do with that.
And me.
It was
you beat me as well.
Oh, Angie. Yeah, but when you're doing a teach, it doesn't count. Do you know what I mean? You've got too much to focus on.
Yeah.
I give it to you for free.
I was really proud that Mitch got through that game because don't think he enjoyed it.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Yeah. But I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was fantastic. And I really want to play it again, but I just can't remember half the rules. Do you know what I mean? Because we played it that once. Yeah, I'm not one of those people that can just instantly remember it.
No.
But I would definitely like to play it again.
Yeah, if you started playing it, you'd go, oh, yeah, this is...
Yeah, 100%.
Because it's actually not... Yeah, it's definitely not like Tekenu level complicated.
No. But it was a really good game. And yeah, I think that's one I want to try and get back to the table shortly. So...
Poor Def was talking about Tiletum. He didn't get to talk about it.
Def, I'm off.
No, that was it. Like, I just want to say
they're all T games.
Yeah, they're all T games. I enjoyed it.
When you said the other T game, I thought you were talking about Toilet Trouble.
Yes.
No, it wasn't.
That's one of Mike's favourite games. He brings it all the time.
It's a T
Is that the one where the poop flies out of the toilet?
Yep.
Yeah.
I had to look it up on BGG.
Oh, no.
Oh, dude, that's nasty.
Yeah, it is nasty. You're right.
I said it.
You did say it. So. Cool. Well, yeah, I mean, anyone got any sizzling games per se? What is Rogue Angel, Sarah? Because I see that on our list. I've never heard of it. So
this is really cool. So I got a prototype sent to me. A guy called Emil Larson, who is the designer of this game, Rogue Angel. And he was really keen for me to check it out, which is really nice. Like, it's really nice when someone just gets in touch with you and it's just like, I think you'll like this, will you play it? And I don't know, a little bit of behind the scenes stuff that's, that sometimes happens to us. Like if we get sent a game or review games, we always want to be actually interested in the game first. Otherwise, it sort of seems like there's no point. So I was like, I looked at it, I was like, yeah, this does seem like my kind of thing. So sure, send it. And it arrived like the day I got to the US. So that was kind of annoying. So I emailed the guy and I'm like, look, I'm sorry. It came a day late and now I'm over there. But I've since had a chance to play it a whole bunch and it's really cool. I really like it. It describes it like Mass Effect, the board game. Okay, so if you don't know Mass Effect, it's kind of this, it's a BioWare video game, and there's a lot of relationship stuff that happens in this. You're like fighting aliens, but you're also developing a team and you're making decisions that affect the outcomes of your relationships with your team and also stuff that happens in the game. So he really wants to make that into this game. So he's got like this, you basically work through a chapter book. And I think, Mitch, you'll probably like this because you like narrative games. You work through this chapter book and you read everything and it's got like cuts. It's kind of written like there's cutscenes. Like in a video game, you'd have cutscenes, you'd have dialogue with all these different people and blah, blah, blah. And you go through like just these like checkpoints. It's like, okay, come and meet me in this room. I've got to talk to you about stuff. So then you guys are like going to the room and, whatever happens on the way. And so you're like fighting stuff, you're interacting with things. There's like an interactivity puzzle that you have to do to like open doors and unlock things and, yada, yada. People are talking with you, you make decisions, you go on different missions where like you might fail in one thing. So I was doing a mission where I had to sneak and basically we got busted. Like I was playing with Kerry, we got busted. We weren't sneaking very well. And then it was like, oh, well, if you get caught, then you can go down this path. And so there was like a branching storyline and it may or may not make things harder for me in the future because, we've now been people have been alerted to our presence and things like that. All the missions are super short. It's kind of like the opposite of Frosthaven. Like Kerry and I have been playing Frosthaven and it's so thinky and it's so heavy when you're playing it and can be a real slog at times even. Like some scenarios can go for, 2+ hours even with 2 people and it can be really difficult. And if you keep doing those scenarios over and over again and you're just like, it's this chunk of gameplay, I'd say that this is on the other scale of that where it's like your gameplay's like in these short bursts and then you go back to the story. I remember playing like Sleeping Gods and I wasn't super impressed with the gameplay aspect and so I couldn't get into the story. But with this one, I feel like the gameplay is actually kind of cool. It's card driven again. So you're an alien species, you're like this particular character and you have different powers. I was like some weird snake creature. And so I had a tail whip thing that I could do that was different from what Kerry's character could do. So like you have all these cool, unique abilities that I'm imagining will expand as you go, as you keep playing. And basically you have like, if you've played any of these games like Diablo or whatever, you have like cooldown time, right? You have a cooldown time to all of your powers. That's kind of like how you play the game. You have a card row basically. And if you play a power that's like, this is a cooldown of 4, then that goes in your 4 space and everything shifts along. Every turn it shifts along to the left. And then when it comes off that row, you get it back in your hand. When you take damage in this, it blocks up your row and you can't play anything basically. And if your whole row is ever blocked up, you get knocked down and you have to get healed by your friends. It's pretty straightforward. Like it didn't take me long to learn this game at all, which was a breath of fresh air.
Yeah. Did you learn it quicker than the setup for Mr. President?
Hell yes. I think my play and the setup and reading the rules, like the very first time was under quicker 2 hours. Yeah.
Good. Sounds good.
It might, you look so sad. And it might be that there's not enough actual thinky gameplay for me in the long run. I'm not sure. that's possible, because I definitely don't want to see these same. I think I've got like only 6 cards at this point, and I don't want to see these same 6 cards all the time, right?
Yeah, but is it in prototype stage still?
Yes, this is
So
totally.
It could be
100%.
loads coming. Yeah.
100%. I'm sure there's plenty of unlocked stuff. There's a whole bunch of like stickers in there. It's legacy elements. So there's stickers in there about you'll get permanent scars and bad things, will come up. And then also your relationships. Again, there's a relationship factor, so that they'll grow and you might get love interests and things like that. Yeah. It's so far it's really cool. I would want gameplay to just expand a little bit from here.
And like evolve as you're going along. Almost RPG-like maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's pretty cool. Nice. I would encourage people to have a look.
What's it called again?
It's called Rogue Angels.
Rogue Angels.
And it's coming to Kickstarter at some point soon. Yeah. I can't remember if he told me the date or not. I don't think he did. But yeah. It looks cool too, and it's going to be standees, not minis, which I think is neat.
Love standees. I'm so in love with standees.
Me too. I don't want any more minis. I can't wait.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and all the bad guys, they've got like just the stats they need to have clearly on them, And it's like, that's just brilliant. You can just see what they have and what they do, and
Oh, like the stats on the standee.
Yeah, they're on the standee.
Oh, that's pretty good.
So good.
Yeah. Kind of like the stats on the chip theory chips, Def.
Yes.
Right.
That's awesome.
It's a winning formula, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
So.
Cool. Does anyone else have any sizzling games they want to talk about this week?
Go ahead, mate. I know you're dying to talk about Trickerion. Let's hear it.
Yes. Well, it's a funny one because I didn't back it. I didn't buy the actual game, and there's been a few times when I've been at the game days, and there's the brown Trickerion box is sitting there, and I'm like, man, I'm just going to pick that up because I love the theme. I mean, if you've watched the movies like The Illusionist or The Prestige, or if you have any interest in, I mean, even to the point like even The Greatest Showman, it's kind of all set in that era, that olden days, like 1890s to 1920s
and
kind of style.
You hadn't played. I mean, you had played Anachrony with me in terms of other Mind Clash games, and you liked it, but you weren't blown away from it. So it's not as if you said, "Oh, this is a Mind Clash game. I don't have. I'm going to get it."
Yeah, I have to have it because it's Mind Clash. Now I don't have that relationship with them yet, but I managed. Someone posted it online, and I bought it secondhand. And on the way down to Sydney, last time I was on the way down to Sydney, I actually picked it up because it was on the route. And I hadn't played it for a long time, and I was very lucky that Thomas and Sabine and his son Justice came and stayed with us, and we had an opportunity to play a game. And they taught me Trickerion with the Dark Alley expansion. I was actually, it was kind of like, I don't know, like an epiphany. Like, it's weird. It was like, it was a brilliant game. Like, for me, I would call that a brilliant game. Like, it was fantastic. For me, unfortunately, I don't know what the main difference is what's in that brown box to what we had. All I know is that I played the base game with the Dark Alley expansion, and there was heaps of other content in that box.
Yeah, that's just the base game. So that's what everybody would have. Cool. If they buy the game from retail, that's what they get. Cool. It's just that the board is two-sided. One side has like the base game without the Dark Alley, just to get you in the game, and then the full game is on the other side.
Yeah. Now, bear in mind, I didn't play very well because that game has a lot of how do I explain it? You need to see the path, and you have to have so much pre-planning and I actually really like that in games. I really enjoy that. I love that you can see your success before it happens, if you know what I mean. Like you're building up to this big crescendo at the end, which is the big like grand show, and you know it's happening. You can't play the game and there's an end game trigger that happens that someone else is triggering. It's set amount of rounds and you're doing this big show at the end, and you're always working up to that big show. And I like that during the rounds and during the turns, you're building towards maybe in round 3, you're like, you know what? I don't really care about the show this much this time. I'm going to build up for the 4th round and have a really strong 4th round. And yeah, I just found it fantastic. Like the action selection, the dice manipulation, the taking of different resources, the building and buying your tricks and trying to work towards achieving those tricks and hiring new assistants. And it just had stuff to do in spades. And it really did blow my socks off. Like, it's a phenomenal game. And I knew that I'd like it. And I really felt the theme in it, which for me, for some reason, is just really strong. I like to feel like I'm doing the things. Okay, yes, I am not Hugh Jackman in The Prestige. I am not doing a magic trick.
You're not even the big hammer.
I get it. No, I'm not the big hammer. He's going to come out of retirement, though. They should make a big hammer card for this game. But you know what? Like, mechanically, thematically, everything worked. And it was like seamless. I thought it was brilliant. Yeah, I couldn't say much more. Like, I can go into all the different nuances of the mechanics and how they interconnect and how it's really important to get the right resources for the tricks. Then you've got to look through all the different tricks that are available to buy and see that, okay, well, I've got these 3 resources already, so I need to get this other trick from a different pool of magic because there's 4 different pools of magic. So you're trying to okay, well, this particular pool of magic needs these 3 things. And yeah, it has so much going on. It's insane.
I love how you get the menu of these are all the tricks that you can.
Yes,
the magician. Cool. What is it? The magician book or something they call it?
Yeah,
handbook. Yeah.
And also the Dark Alley expansion, which I think is just buying those Dark Alley cards, which are black.
Yeah, and those little tokens that rotate and change something in this round.
Yes. Yeah. My asymmetrical power for type of magician that I had was this lady who could actually manipulate that round benefit, because that thing that Def was just talking about is actually like an in-round benefit that buffs that round in a particular way. Well, she was able to go, nah, I don't like that one. Click, click, swap it, ditch the other one and push a new one in that benefited me more, which was really interesting. But the Dark Alley expansion itself, it basically allows you to buy upgraded actions of the already available actions. And I think that you're right. I think that's
the game.
That's the game. Like you want those cards. Yeah. You don't want to just play basic action. It's like, I'm going to do a trick. I'm going to buy some stuff, some resources. I'm going to hire a person. You want those like special cards because no one can really tell where you're going with it and what those abilities do. And sometimes in the round, it's like, sick, I'm going to do this. And because this is the first time I've ever performed this trick, I can double the benefit of one of the incomes from the trick. Do I want to get prestige points and become like more famous or fame points in the game? Or do I want to get the money and then that'll give me a better round next time? And you get to do all these different options that without those cards you wouldn't get to do. And yeah, I thought it was great. I thought the art is lovely. I love the art style. I love all the different pools of magic. I love all the different graphic designs and the different elements of the game. I just thought it was awesome. Mitch.
My question is, and this may be Def or you, I don't know, does the standard retail version come with a solo mode?
No.
Or is it no solo at all?
No. The solo comes with one of the expansions, and it's not part of the base game.
Yeah, that seems to be a Mind Clash thing. And that's the reason why I won't be buying any of their games.
I can see the disappointment on your face.
They're evolving, though. They've changed that, right? The last 2 games, both Perseverance and Voidfall, they don't... It's not that they don't do solo separately. They just don't do expansions, period. The games are no longer this mess of... We have a base game and a big expansion, which... Come to think of it, should have been part of the base game, and it has a solo mode in the expansion, and there's this other expansion, and there's these 10 modules split between 3 expansions, and there's this, you know what I mean?
Yeah, now it's all just built into the...
Now it's just one box. They did the same they did that with Perseverance, they did that with Voidfall, and it's one game, one thing includes everything. So I think they're evolving quite a lot. And you can see that, I think, in Trickerion. I think everything Adrian said is spot on. The theme is fantastic. It comes through very strongly in the art and the graphic design. Even you know what I love about it? The tokens that you use to take your actions are these round discs. But there's something about them, I don't know. Is it the colors, or is the graphic icons they have on them, where they have like the hat of the magician or a wand or something like that? They just fit so well in the theme. So 2 things about the game. One, you already said it, Adrian, about the planning. And in a world where most of the games that we play are either straight up interactive games, like, I've been loving playing John Company the last year or so, or there are typical Euros where you kind of do your own thing, but at the same time, most of the time you are kind of reacting to the board state. And I think that it is very refreshing to have some games like that, where forward planning a lot is a thing. Like I really love this for this game, because you have to forward plan which day of the week you want to perform in the theater. And so if you are sort of dead on, very strong-minded about which day you want for different reasons, because each one gives you different benefits or disadvantages, you got to go early and take the spot, because if you don't, somebody else might go. And so you kind of try and forward plan all of these, and I think that's been great in this game. And go ahead.
I even like the action programming. So like, you put your cards out, basically you play your cards, and the more cards you play, the more money you have to pay, right? For the assistants and different workers. And then you can look around the table and go, okay, no one else has played a Dark Alley card. So no one else has taken any Dark Alley actions this turn. But Thomas has played the one where he's going to be buying resources, and Sabine has played the one where she wants to get more workers and go get more tricks. So you have to balance out in your head, who do I want to compete against for those spaces? Because the spaces are limited, and whoever is the first player to those spaces tends to get a much bigger benefit. And I really like that, like looking around going, oh, crap. Like, with 3 of us have got cards for this, and I'm the last player this time. Like, I'm not going to get that space, so I'm going to have to pivot and just go to the other spots, because I'll let them fight for the 2 other ones that they really want, and I'll just muddle my way through it as I go.
And that's really cool, because going early in some of these action slots gets you more action points, which means you can do more things. And going late, you can naturally do less things. There's some mitigation in some of it, but you're right. That's pretty good. I really enjoy that part. I think it's a great game. I think it has a lot to like about it. I want to play it with more than 2 players, because I've played it once with Connor and Harry at 3, and they both loved it.
Yeah, I'd love to play it at 4.
But I would want to play it at 4 on the table. So I'll have the big box and everything coming with it, coming with Voidfall. So I'm looking forward to trying the main expansion, knowing Mind Clash. I would assume that was, probably was part of the game at the start, and they split it off for commercial purposes. So that's Dalgard's Academy expansion, I think.
Dalgard's Gifts, I think.
Dalgard's Gifts? Yeah, could be.
I did say in the Discord that I feel like the Trickerion Collector's Edition crawled so the Infinity Box could run, because they really tried well at that box, and that box is a good insert and good everything. There's a few bits that aren't great, but the Infinity Box is like triple its size, or maybe even quadruple its size. So they've just mastered that.
Yeah.
Yes, they've mastered that ability to get everything in. And to be honest, the game it's just brilliant. It's long. I'm not going to lie.
It's a long game.
It's not like, that's another thing as well. Like in something like On Mars, you can sort of pivot and rush and force the end game to happen.
Not in this
quicker
game.
Than you wanted. Yeah. Not in this game. You are sitting down at the table. You're going to be there for 4.5 hours.
And everyone's doing a solid think.
Yes.
It doesn't move fast either.
No. And I don't mind that when when you're enjoying it with good company and it's long, and you might sit down and go, oh, it's only going to be 3 hours. But when it turns into 4.5, that doesn't matter. Like that never bothers me as long as I feel the game is engaging. I even had to stop like 3/4 of the way through, go pick up Finn from school, come back, and then finish the game out for like the last 40 minutes. And I was adamant, like, yeah, I know what I'm doing when I get back. When I get back to the house, I got to remember. I have to remember what I was doing, otherwise I'll forget, and I've got no chance. It didn't really matter because I had no chance. I still lost by miles, but it's just a great game. Like if you like your heavy games and you haven't tried it yet, I really feel like it's a must. It's that unique. It's that I have it, and if you really like forward planning and seeing it pay off at the end, if you play this game, you are going to enjoy this game 100%. Because for me, I feel like it has everything. It's like great mechanics, good interaction on the stage as well when you're doing the stage performances, and also just, very deep thought. So, Trickerion, 100% win.
Excellent.
Hey everyone, it's Sarah here. I want to talk a little bit about one of our sponsors who has sponsored the podcast from the very beginning, and that is Advent Games. Adventgames.com.au is an Australian board game store. This is the store where I get all of my games from, so you know that I'm not just advertising it just because. This is very personal to me. And Dean, who runs it, is very knowledgeable about games. He is a huge board gamer himself, and he often gives advice and things like that, and just awesome all-round customer service. So all around New South Wales, you can get flat rate shipping from adventgames.com.au for $10. If you're somewhere else in Australia, you can get flat rate shipping for $15, not that much more. And if you are super local, you can even see Dean at Chatswood on Tuesday nights to pick up games from him, from his very paws. So that is adventgames.com.au. Thank you so much for sponsoring the podcast.
Okay, those were awesome sizzles. And I think with that, guys, we will move on to the question of the pod. And the question of the pod was, describe your ideal game based on your favorite movie. So mine, in theory, would be Anachrony in a weird way, because Terminator 2 is my favorite movie of all time. So it would have some sort of time travel element in it. But I would like it to be a narrative game where the time travel affected the story, which is basically impossible to do because it would take so much to happen. Do you guys have any quick ones that you want to mention? What would your favorite movie be?
I would go with I don't know if it's my favorite movie, but if someone just says movie you like, the first thing that jumps to my mind is Tombstone. I love Tombstone. It's a fantastic movie, and
what is that? Western. Is it a Western? Oh, it's a Western.
Yeah. Have you ever seen it, Tombstone?
I haven't.
Kurt Russell.
Me neither.
It's very good.
Kilmer. Oh my!
I'll be
gosh.
a Huckleberry. I'll be a Huckleberry. That's what that's from. Yeah.
Say
I
when.
can't remember what that means, but it means something.
It means I'll fight, because Johnny Ringo's in the street and he's looking for trouble and he's drunk and he's trying to get Wyatt Earp to fight him. And Wyatt Earp won't fight him, and he's like, "What are you? You coward, Wyatt?" And Doc Holliday goes, "I'm your Huckleberry," because he knows he won't fight Doc. Anyway, moving along. I'm getting carried away with Tombstone.
You're so excited. Mick's going to start a Tombstone podcast.
Yeah, let's start a Tombstone podcast. Tombstone is brilliant. If anyone comes at me at Discord and says otherwise, then you can forget that nice guy that Sarah talked about earlier. I'll come looking for you.
I'll be a Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. So there's been loads of Western games. I'll admit that. There's loads of Western games out there, but I don't really find any that really get that whole gunslinger, man with no name, grifter traveling through the West, striking fear into the hearts of evil cowboys everywhere. It's all about ranching and, building up your cows and taking them to Kansas.
What about Western Legends? That seems like kind of one like that.
Kind of and kind of not. I didn't love Western Legends. It's kind of, I read that if you just do the gold strategy, you can go mine gold. It's kind of broken. I don't know. There's Yeah, I didn't have the greatest experiences the few times that I played that. But yeah, it didn't really have that feel for me. But yeah, so maybe that's something like that where you've got a Doc Holliday type character that's traveling around, or Outlaw Josie Wales, if anyone's seen that movie. That'd be mine.
Sarah, favorite movie?
I think that I've already answered this, but like at a different time at the barbecue. Like not when we before we did question of the pod. I think we've had a vague, I don't know, because I remember saying my favorite movie was Brazil, and that there's no heavy Euro that's like trying to rebel against a dystopian world. Is there?
Yeah, okay.
Is there one like that?
There's a game called Brazil.
Right, but it's about Brazil. Yeah, so I don't know if you guys have seen this, but Brazil is a Terry Gilliam movie. It's like crazy. It's got Robert De Niro in it. He's like the rebel guy. He's like, yeah, it's like, you haven't seen it? It's
I don't think I've even heard of it.
It's kind of it's disturbing. It's like set in the future, and it's like a totalitarian state. You know, like think 1984, that kind of stuff.
Logan's Run.
Right, it's a really good movie. Definitely recommend watching it. The director's cut. Watch the director's cut version. Anyway, but like there's some really trippy, like gross, creepy things in that too. Like old ladies getting facials, and they're just, you know, it just cuts. Like they just have their side of the face cut and their skins are like stretched back and all this stuff. It's not a horror, but like there's a couple of really creepy, disturbing things in the movie. Anyway, I would like to see a heavy Euro that has that kind of theme. That would be kind of cool, I think. I don't know. If you guys, is there a game that has that theme? I don't think so, right? Dystopian, like where you're trying to fight the government.
Really? It tends to be more D&D and stuff that does these sort of offshoots of the main core rules and makes their own dystopian world.
I feel like there's got to be a game out there that's doing that, like a sci-fi futuristic.
How about
power?
Yeah. How about a rebellion against an oppressive government on Mars?
Right. That'll do.
That's GMT's new game, the new coin game, Red Dust Rebellion.
Oh, there we go. Oh, there you go. It exists already. Okay, good.
So what would your favourite film be, Dev? Because I don't really talk too many movies with you, bud.
No, when Sarah asked me this we did an episode where we like grilled each other, or we got questions from the community. And so my answer was The Nightmare Before Christmas. And it is,
which you can recite word for word.
Which I can recite word for word, singing and making the voices and everything. My daughter still cannot believe how I am able to do that. But I would say, you know, turning a favorite movie into a game would probably have to be Interstellar. And I know it's a theme that is, you know, science fiction, something that we've done heaps in board games. But
does that mean if you had a player who went down to a planet on their turn, went to that worker placement spot, they don't get another turn for 30 years? Is that
something like that?
Is that how it works?
Interstellar is the one with Matthew McConaughey, right?
Yeah,
that's the one.
It did my head in. I've had the massivest discussions / arguments with people about that. I'm like, I just can't process that whole concept with the
it's just physics.
Oh, if gravity's heavier, then it's going to take longer. What? No, I don't get it. No.
Yeah, so anything that has to do with relativity, you know, I'm fascinated by, and I would love to see something in a board game, but I don't think that's going to happen.
That's fair enough.
You never know. There's those guys that do the who is it? The guys that do all the science-based games that did all the chemistry ones. They did the elemental with the elemental table, where the board's the table of elements, and you've got to move around. You've never seen any of those?
No.
Oh, what's the one called? Genius Games. This is one of theirs called Subatomic. It's about forming atoms and ions and compounds and stuff. It's a deck building game. Yeah, so that's Subatomic. And Genius Games, if you look them up, they do all of their games are based on science and, you know, stuff like that. And they're good educational things for kids and adults alike.
You don't want too educational.
Well, you know, they're fun. They're fun, and like I say, Subatomic is a deck building game, because you get certain cards like atoms, certain ones are neutrons and electrons and whatever, and you're trying to make combinations to, when you make the different elements, you get points for scoring if you're the first one to make those elements and things like that. The harder the element to make, the more points you get for it. So still board game mechanics and still heaps of fun. That's one of my favourite deck building games, actually, Subatomic. It's really good. So I wonder if Genius Games would ever think about doing something with the theory of relativity. death and physics, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Don't laugh at me. Is Einstein theory of relativity?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
I just started a podcast about Einstein, so I'm kind of looking forward to it.
I heard a sad thing about Einstein. One that's turned me off his personality.
What was that?
He had a daughter that was like intellectually disabled, and basically just they didn't even notice until they read his diaries or something. Like he didn't even acknowledge her at all. He basically put her in an institution, and that was it.
Did the Kennedys do that as well?
The royal family did that as well. The royal family, you might be thinking of them. They also did the same thing. They were like,
sorry, Kennedys. Any of the Kennedys listening? That was a mistake. It was the royal family.
I don't know. Maybe it was the Kennedys as well. I'm sure that there was, it was probably common practice to do that. And it was like,
it's messed up.
Just while we're on that, allegedly, just to get herself in any trouble. That was all allegedly.
Right.
Allegedly.
I read it on the internet, so it could absolutely be wrong. Oh, dear. Should we read some from the community?
Let's do that.
Yes. Sarah, do you want to start and do the Facebook ones?
Sure. Jeremiah Cole Kelly says, Waterworld. Oh, yeah. Giddy up.
That's so good.
Love Waterworld.
I know.
Characters have certain abilities. Build up your boat. Try to get to dry land without getting hit by the smokers. Carl Van Ostrand, I need your help. So he's even calling out a designer to design it. I love that. Andrew John Egan says, want a bag builder with a Euro-style resource management system based on Rocky. You'd go through a training montage to upgrade the bag and manage your resources, then take on boss battles against all the opponents in the films. It's pretty cool.
I would buy that. I'd buy that tomorrow.
I would buy that. I would so buy that. I'm so excited for that game. Andrew, get on it.
Yeah, Andrew,
make
just make it yourself and these guys will buy it. Lee Hath says, Little Shop of Horrors. The game could start as a pick up and deliver as you feed the beast, but at the end it turns into a boss battler as you try and take the planet down. Cool.
That's great. I like that too.
Ingrid Wright says, they've already made it, Die Hard the game.
Yeah.
Is it good? Has anyone played it?
No.
I
haven't, but it's her favourite film, so, that's I think that's the point, right?
Right.
So
Reese Shelley Jones said, Ace Ventura the deck builder. What would he do? Yeah. What would his skills be?
There's got to be one card that if you rotate it one way, it's Finkel, and if you rotate it the other way, it's Einhorn. Einhorn from Finkel.
Yeah.
It's got to be, right?
Right. I like it.
Yeah. Build a whole game around that.
All right. Someone else reading out the others?
Mitch, would you go with the Discord ones?
I could do Discord. So Jonathan says, Inception, a hidden movement or deduction type game about constructing a world within a world to be able to steal victory points would be pretty amazing. A Princess Bride game which focuses on being a battle of wit style word game with a game-breaking powers like immunity would be fun. And a superhero themed game, we've never had any of those. That's a great idea. Which is all built around trying to be normal would be pretty interesting for a change. I guess that's a different take on it.
That is kind of cool, like superheroes trying to fit into normal society.
What's the movie? That's the superhero trying to fit into normal and not be a superhero. Is there one? What's that?
Clark wears glasses.
Yeah, I was about to say that one. Yeah. I love that Jonathan had 3 answers. Like, who actually has one favorite movie anyway? Nobody.
Yeah, me. Tombstone. Moving on. Daniel says Dallas Buyers Club split effort between challenging legal restrictions and acquiring illegal meds while losing actions as people die.
Very dark. Okay.
Dark.
That's a phenomenal film and a true story.
Yes.
So it has historical relevance. Is relevance a word?
No,
relevance. You got relevance. You're dyslexic. You can't laugh.
I've got intellect lag, so leave me alone.
You've got intellect lag.
It's not my fault.
Lauren says, I would definitely be into a TTRPG, solo or otherwise, a la 1,000-year-old vampire that was themed around Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
Oh, man. Wow. Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind is one of my favorite movies. It is so good.
Yeah.
That's the one. I always get them confused between that. That's the Jim Carrey one, right?
Right.
For some reason, I was confused that with the Requiem for a Dream, Jared Leto.
Right.
Yeah, don't know why.
That's not like that at all. No.
Righto, Chris Talkium says, The Matrix, perhaps a co-op game about awakening as many folks from the Matrix as possible while evading and surviving Agent Smith. Yeah, it would be all right.
Yeah, cool.
I could do that.
That could be cool.
I could do that.
upgrade yourself as well, like in your computer, plug in and get jujitsu.
As long as there's no sequels to it.
Cool. Well, they were great answers, and that was an enjoyable question. It's fun. I like talking about movies, so it's always good talking about movies and board games at the same time.
Yep.
With the new question on the pod, we thought we would do something. Sarah's got a face because I think she just read it.
Yeah, I read it. It's cute.
It's what's your favorite Sarah episode and or sizzle? So what's your favorite game that Sarah has sizzled, or what's your favorite episode Sarah appeared on? And yeah, we would just like to hear from the community about that. But I will hand us over to Mitch and see what he thinks. What's his favorite?
Oh, gee. I might need more time.
Good. Okay. I'll go ahead.
To come up with something.
It was mine. I'll go ahead straight away. Mine was honestly the Isaac Childress thing, because I booked that guest and it was a big deal for us at the time. It's still a big deal anytime. And I just remember how excited Sarah was about it and how panicked she was about it behind the scenes.
Yeah.
He was nervous beyond nerves, messaging me like a maniac, like, oh my God, freaking out. And we were new to this. So for us, it was a big deal, and it's still a big deal. If we did it tomorrow, it would still be a big deal, but it was great fun. But the fact that Isaac spoke about theme and all these other things was really cool. And then he spoke about Barrage being his sizzling game. And then Sarah immediately went out and researched Barrage and learned it and was like, come on to TTS on Wednesday. We're going to play Barrage. I'll show you this game. You'll love it. You'll love it. And I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not sure. And I played it and I was like, I love this game. I love this game. And it's been my number one game for a couple of years. And I talk about it all the time. I'm very grateful and lucky enough to be playtesting the new maps that aren't even out yet. And being part of that process has been all because of Sarah. I've got to that point, in my love for Barrage, and I think that's going to continue.
Actually, it was because of you, because you got Isaac on the show, and Isaac spoke about Barrage. So if you going back, it was actually Isaac.
But if he spoke about it, I would be like, oh yeah, sweet as. I looked that rule book and gone, I'm not learning that.
Right, because back then you didn't even have, you weren't a heavy Euro gamer at all.
No.
Then
not any heavy. The heaviest game I played, I think, was Scythe at the time.
Right.
So.
And then it just snowballed from there.
Correct. So, yeah, eternally grateful. So,
well, I'll jump in
Mitch.
now because you give me a bit of time. Not that I needed it, but I guess my most fond memories of time with Sarah on the pod, probably stuff that happened off the pod. So I can't answer those things. Just the stuff behind the scenes, the times we spent together, the things we done at game days. As I said, me and Sarah of Sydney versus the World game days. This, been a thing. Our trips to Melbourne, blah blah blah. But I think one of the episodes that makes me smile the most, even going back to the very first thing she did on the pod, where we made her record a monologue. I don't even remember what the game was.
We have to find it.
We
have to find it.
Well, you're talking about my audition.
Audition, because and she was so professional and so well done, and she took such care to do it. And we listened to it and went, oh my God, this lady makes us look like a bunch of hacks who don't know what we're doing.
We are.
I remember us all sitting around just looking at each other going, what are we going to do? She's so good.
You were like, can we reject her because she's better than us?
If we bring her on, she's going to make us even worse than we are, and we're already terrible. So, I do look back at that moment and just laugh. And then probably, a day in, she's come in thinking we were somehow professional, and then just gone, oh my God, these guys are a bunch of losers.
Right, and the fact that you guys asked for an audition, I was like, wow, this is really hardcore. This is really serious. I was so nervous.
Oh dear. Yeah, it was
bunch of jokers.
Classic. And we're a bunch of idiots. Funnily enough, I think we still are.
We are, but we're better at podcasting now, though, right? We're marginally better than we were. Adrian doesn't even want people to listen to our first 50 episodes.
Don't go listen to the first 50 episodes. That's an embarrassment.
Unless you want to hear Sarah's monologue about Tashkala, because I think it actually made an episode in the end, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you put it on.
Yeah, that was well done.
Didn't want to waste it.
So that's the memory I'll throw out for this particular question of the pod.
Nice.
Death?
And Death, yourself?
Oh, I have so many, but a couple of things that immediately pop in my mind is one was this episode we did with Vital Lacerda. There were just so many funny moments during that episode, including when Sarah started calling him by his last name.
Oh, yeah.
That was so funny. And I don't know if that was like a trigger for him, because like next time we play tested weather machine, do you remember he started yelling at you? It's like, what are you doing there, Sarah? Why did you do that? And you were like, what's going on? What did I do?
I don't know if it was a trigger for that
No,
or
I'm
not.
just joking.
He does like tend to have a go at me for my strategy decisions, which is pretty funny. Oh, my lack of
that's because he expects
decisions.
dumbness from me. Like he expects it from me.
Yeah.
He's like, this guy, what is he doing? He's got no idea. Whereas he's like, why have you done that move? He wants to know why you've taken that move so he can note it down and try and figure it out. Whereas he's like, why has he done that?
That's one thing, one I remember in the podcast episodes, something a bit more personal. When I left the podcast for a few months and then decided to come back, and we did our first episode together, and it was you, me, and Adrian. And I remember starting that episode, and I was pretty quiet. I'd been away for a few months, and you kind of were so hyped and so excited that I was on and welcomed me back. Like it really felt very heartwarming, and it's been a great pleasure being able to work with you on the pod. And I think you've helped me improve both as a podcaster and as a person, and I don't think there's anything else I can add to that. But yeah, so many different moments. Yeah, that was...
Thank you all. Thank you all so much.
Well, there's only one other person to answer that question. And that's you, Sarah. What's been some of your favorite moments and Sizzles?
What's been my favorite Sarah moment?
Yeah.
Oh, man. That's so hard. That's so hard, you guys. I think it's probably All In, just because it's just so fun to have us all together.
Chaos.
It's just chaos, and it's so much fun. And
almost impossible.
Yeah. I mean, these days we've really struggled. We haven't had an All In for a long time, but I think it's got to be like those trivia things. Like, I'm not sure whether you guys as an audience are getting a lot out of us doing trivia, but that was fun. That was really fun. Just mucking around, just laughing at each other, just taking the piss out of each other. Oh, excuse me.
Yeah.
And then so probably just the trivia. The trivia one's probably a highlight. I was going to say also playing cartographers together, and like when we used to play big games together, but that's not
lockdown.
Yeah, but that's not an episode. Oh man, so many good moments though. So many.
Cool. Well, did you ever know that you're my hero? You're everything I wish I could be. I could fly higher than an eagle. For you are the wind beneath my wings. Did you ever know that you're my hero?
Oh dear! Oh my god!
Mitch has dared me to do that since the start.
I wish everyone could see the dance moves and the
eagles flying.
Right? Yes.
Wings. We were doing the wings.
Oh dear!
Really,
Mitch was supposed to help out, but he didn't do it.
He did a little nasty.
When you started, I was kind of like, I'm going to be a different tone there to you.
Yeah, you should have been the low,
different octave.
The low octave. I don't know what that is. What's that? Oh, it's a tenor, right?
Yeah, I think it's the Barry Whiter.
You were the baritone.
Yeah,
the baritone.
The baritone.
Baritone.
Did you ever know?
Well. Get on the boom. Let's just turn it into a single.
You got a lot of editing to do tomorrow.
Nah, I'm leaving all this in. I don't care. It's good. It's fun. Sarah doesn't mind, so I don't mind.
Oh dear.
Okay. Anyway, take a breath.
The run sheet says.
That's right. I couldn't say it because I've got intellect lag. Sorry.
Intellect lag.
But let us know in the community, right?
Please let us know. We know that everyone's got favorite Sarah moments, and we'd like to hear those and talk about them and discuss them. And yeah, that'd be great.
You're going to make me cry.
Yeah.
That was the plan.
So, yeah, I know.
Exactly. Well, we shall move on to the oaths. I just wanted to do a quick shout out as well to our Patreons. The Patreons that have brought us this episode are Chris Densley, Lachlan J. Stoke, Liam Stewart, and Michael Roberts. Thank you so much. We couldn't have done this without you. We really appreciate your support. And if you ever want to become a Patreon, please just visit Board Game BBQ. Patreon.com/Board Game BBQ and sign up, and you'll get exclusive Patreon episodes, including ones that are so weird and random, like Sarah and me talking about health and diets.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was fun.
It was really good fun, actually. It was really insightful. And we found out that cows had 3 stomachs.
Yeah.
And it blew our mind. And they had those plugs on the side that you can remove and look inside and watch the grass churn like a washing machine.
That thing, that was creepy.
Messed up.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Spoilers, jeez.
Spoilers alert. But if you cannot financially donate to the podcast and the community cause, then please just go to Apple Podcasts and leave a star rating. You don't even have to write a review. You can just press the button and give us 5 stars. We really appreciate that. We really want to try and hit 100 5-star reviews by the end of the year. That would be phenomenal. We would massively appreciate your help and support with that one. And there's also the same thing on Spotify. You just literally press the button, 5 stars, done. Or if it's really terrible, you press 1 star. Maybe not 1 star, maybe just do 5 stars and we'll be sweet.
It helps the barbecue get up in
really
the searches
does.
And stuff. And really helpful.
It really does help massively. And please join the Facebook community and the Twitter and the Instagram and the YouTube. And I'm talking to you, Norway, because I checked out the stats, and for some reason we've got a massive influx of Norwegian listeners.
Yeah, Norway.
What is that about? Norway, talk to us. Join the community. Just let's have a chat about this.
If you're in Norway listening to the Board Game BBQ podcast, I want you to reach out on Facebook or Discord and let us know that you're there and you're listening, and we're going to have a special Norway event when you turn up.
Mitch is going to sing the Norwegian national anthem. You heard it here first.
I'll sing Snow Informer in Norwegian.
Oh, that's heavy. That'd be hilarious. But yeah, that's great. Thank you very much for your support, Norway and all the other countries. That's sick as. We really appreciate that. And all the links to all these different communities and how to get involved will be in our show notes. Awesome. So, oaths time. Death. Let's go to you, my brother. How's the oath situation looking?
Yeah, it's looking good. I played both games that were pending, Horseless Carriage, which we briefly spoke about at the start. That was pretty big oath to fulfill.
Yeah.
I got 3 other people almost as crazy as me, and we played a game of this crazy game. So that was done. The other one was to play my copy of La Granja, which I bought recently as well. And yeah, managed to do that. It's a good game. I think it's going to see a lot more plays. There's quite a lot of content packed in that special edition box. And yeah, really interesting card play with it as well. So both of these games have been good, and I think I've run out of oaths now because I've played most of the games that I've got. So I've managed to do this. As a new oath, I think I might cheat a little bit here. I might say that I'm going to play Tammany Hall, which we're going to be teaching at the Brisbane Game Day, which is coming up in 3 weeks' time, more or less.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't played the game yet, so it's going to be a bit of a challenge for me.
Sidebar, do you think he'll enjoy it, Mitch? Because I think Def will really like this game.
Yes, I do. I don't know anyone who's played it and hasn't enjoyed it yet.
Yeah, true that.
And I don't think it'll be that hard for you to learn, Def. It's not that hard to learn games. It's easy. I taught my kids and they enjoyed it.
Yeah, but for me to be able to, when I usually teach games at the game day, I pick games that I know really, really well and, like the back of my hand, because I want to feel comfortable and to giving people the confidence that they have somebody there that can show them around the game and answer any questions and things. So that's going to be a little bit different for me this time, but I'm more than happy to sort of take up the challenge. So Tammany Hall is happening on Brisbane Game Day. So the games will go up on the schedule
next week.
Yep, there you go, next week. So that's happening.
Cool. That's fantastic. It's a great game. I have confidence that you'll enjoy it. I think you'll like it. So I'll go next for myself. It was to paint some KDM minis, and I am halfway through painting them. They are, got base coats on and stuff like that. I'm starting to do some details on them. Oh, no. Just the Phoenix and 4 of the minis from the Gorm expansion.
Basically just 1.
So 5.
Okay. We will allow 5.
The Phoenix is massive. The Phoenix is like a huge
And he says he's halfway through because he's base coated them. So he took them outside with the spray can and went...
No. That's the primer. This is just like the colours and stuff. I just need to do highlights and other bits. But yeah, I've got a game of KDM in a couple of days, so I really want them finished for that because I think we're fighting the Phoenix again, and I'm really embarrassed that we're using Lego's MJ's Lego Phoenix model for our replacement Phoenix model from the KDM game.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah.
It's a great idea.
What
that you're using the Lego.
Using the Lego one? Yeah, I've been using it for months. Right. It's got 100 mil base on it, which is the same size as the
That's great.
KDM. It works perfect. Yeah. So, but when you knock it over, its head falls off, so it's not so good.
It's also probably not scary looking either, I imagine.
No, it's not really. Yeah. It's not as twisted and demented, but it's fine. It serves a purpose, right?
Uh-huh.
So, Mitch, what was your oath and did you get it done?
So I had a relatively easy one. So I'm going to jog this one home. It was to play Illusion with the family while we were away traveling. And we did this. It was really good. And we all enjoyed it. But it's one of those games that can't miss. It's easy.
Yeah.
It's a good, fun premise. I haven't seen anyone not enjoy it yet.
I just played it with the kids like the other night. They love it.
Yeah. I also, while I was away, I picked up a copy of The Inside Job, which is that little trick. I think
an Oink game, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, pretty sure it is.
No.
Oh, now I have to look it up.
Maybe not. No, I think it's Cosmos or something like that. But anyway, I think Dan and Connor spoke about it, or Connor or Dan or Dan. I don't know. Someone spoke about it on the show. It's a little trick taker with hidden roles involved. So played that one. That was good. And I think the kids actually enjoyed that one better than Illusion. So I was quite surprised. They really got into it. Nice. So it was a bit of a hit. So yes, I did play those games while I was away, staying in hotels and Airbnbs and whatnot. So my next oath is going to be, I think I'm going to go and say, I don't know how long I am before I'm next on the podcast, but I've told Jules has told me that he wants to learn Undaunted. So I thought I would teach Jules how to play Undaunted Normandy if I get the opportunity. So I will make that my oath before I'm on the podcast next. I will teach Jules how to play Undaunted Normandy. I was surprised he'd never played it, Def.
Yeah, but is this a Jules game? There's so much dice rolling, and you and me have heaps of fun. Like, we've played this a lot, and we don't mind the dice rolling because some games it will go my way and some games it will go yours.
Unpredictability, Def. Unpredictability.
Love it. That's it.
Yep. And it's always it just seems to me like it doesn't matter who it is, someone's going to roll 10s every game and the other one's going to roll 1s.
Maybe that's just us. I don't know.
It's just us.
Could be.
So that's what I'll do.
And Sarah, did you manage to get your oath done? As you have a lot to do.
I do have a lot to do. I've still got my ongoing play through all my Shelf of Shame games, and I'm going to do it. Okay, I'm going to put them in the Discord, like my updates. I'm going to put it in the Discord Swear an Oath channel, so you guys can keep me honest.
Nice. That'd be great.
My list hasn't grown, so that's a good thing. One of the games in particular that I definitely wanted to get off the list, and I spoke about it
just before I left for the US was Yinzi, which I tried, which I played, which was really different. It was really unique. I loved it. It was by Costa and Roller, who did Cafe, Dompierre, and they got other games coming out. But it was a lot more complicated and funky, and yeah, I really liked it. Anyway, I'm getting through them. I'm gonna do them.
You gotta have another one. What's your new oath?
What?
No.
What?
Just keep going with that oath. Just update us. Updating us would be fantastic.
What about next time you're on the pod?
Fine. Okay, another one.
It should be something super hard because you'll have time to do it. So it's got to be real meaty and juicy.
Finish Frosthaven.
Jeez. Oh my gosh.
Or were you going to teach me clips?
Play all Age of Steam maps.
You know what? It is going to be... Okay, here we go. Oh my God, this is going to be really hard. Play a game with all of you. Because I don't want to...
I like it.
I don't
That's good.
want to lose contact with you guys. I don't want you to forget me. You've got to play something with me.
Which one's Sarah again?
That sounds like a great one. One with a beard.
The one with the... God damn it. I was going to talk about Connor and that joke, and then I was like, no, it doesn't need to be brought up. And then here we go.
As if you're getting through this episode without a beard reference.
Yeah.
True.
Right at the end. Cool. Well, thank you very much, everybody. And yeah, play more games. And we will just leave you with a short message at the end here of some of Sarah's best hits. So strap in, folks.
All right. So, Sarah, this is just a little bit of additional episode because we all got together and we agreed that we wanted to all come together for a little bit and just say a few things about you and give you a bit of a thank you before you ride off into the sunset. We actually do have everyone here tonight. We've got Def, Jules, Connor, Dan, Mike, and Adrian all here in one place, and you of everyone will know how hard that is for us to achieve, but we really wanted to make it happen for you. So, yeah, thanks a lot and enjoy.
Thank you for being a friend.
I was thinking about it the other day, and it's funny, the one thing that sort of jumped to my mind first, Sarah wasn't actually involved in, but she was the key point of the entire discussion. It's become a little bit of the podcast sort of lore, which is her being the most bearded member of the podcast.
Yes, you're welcome. To understand how that happens.
that was also like Stephen Bonacor's first little intro as well, and he's like, "Oh, who's Sarah? Like, I hope Sarah's okay with this." Like, he was really quite sheepish, like about it. It's like, "Oh, who's this Sarah?" But
I think we need to address something else too. Is that the four of us, we've all got some sort of facial fuzz, and it's a shame. It's a shame that our member Sarah couldn't join us because that would mean there would be 5 people with beards in the recording, which would be fantastic.
Sarah has facial hair.
I think she sort of keeps it sort of tidy for when she's on camera. But yes,
man, Connor, what are you doing?
Yeah, you're gone, mate. You're gone.
That's pretty you down. Oh, you're in trouble for this.
No, right.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, and I know that you still quite enjoy talking about your luscious beard. And now, like, beards on dwarves are in vogue. So, hey, like, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, I mean, she's never going to live that down. And, yeah, Sarah, you will always be known to me as the bearded woman of the podcast. So
I heard she's off to join a circus. That's why. So with the bearded woman.
Who was on the night that she got attacked by a wasp?
I just heard it afterwards.
I was there.
I think it was Adrian, yeah.
Kenny was there as well.
Yes, it was Kenny.
Yeah, and yeah, Sarah just got attacked by a wasp, and there was like, I didn't know what I was supposed to do because we were still talking to 2 guests, so it was really hard. She was like swatting around a book and then throwing stuff, and I was like, what's going on? Like, I couldn't see a wasp, obviously.
I did the edit of that, and obviously we had to chop it a little bit, but there was so much going on with that wasp.
Yeah, it's like a month's worth of secret segments right there, just using the wasp.
Scary.
Sarah's just dropped something. Did you just drop your massive jug?
I'm being attacked by a wasp. Okay, so excuse me, I do not like bugs, and that's nasty. I'm sorry. I've got to kill it.
Oh no!
I have to kill it. Oh my god! Before it kills me. Oh shit! Now it's like angry. Oh no! I have to kill.
Is this how he said the final cut?
I'm not. I guess like Sarah's gone. We lost Sarah. She's been stung by a wasp, but we will press on.
Oh my god! I'm vegan and I'm just like attacking this. I gotta.
Really went at it.
I'm going to take a photo of this fucking.
She sounds like she's like a crazy person. There's no way I'd want to mess with her.
I'm sorry, but
she's
wasps,
like a lunatic.
I draw the line at wasps. Like if it was a bee, I'd be less freaked out. But that, I'm so sorry.
I would.
I still remember when Sarah first was coming on the podcast, and we had that sort of little Tash Kalar blurb she did, and I still want to play that game from that first chat she did about it. But I just remember hearing her talk, thinking, she sounds like she knows what she's doing. I'm going to look like a bloody idiot here.
We are such clowns because it's like, oh, well, we've got to make sure she knows what she's talking about, and she knows like way more than we all know. Like,
she's more professional. She's more well spoken.
She had like her own blog. We're just a bunch of blokes that are like, we like games, chucking dice, whatever. Like,
definitely raised the bar.
For sure.
G'day everyone, I'm Sarah Green and I review games over on tabletopsource.com. That's sauce like hot sauce, barbecue sauce, any kind of sauce. Thanks to the Board Game BBQ podcast for having me on the show today. I really appreciate it. And today I'm going to talk to you about a phenomenal two-player game called Tash Kalar.
We've been obsessed with Eon's End Legacy. My sizzling game for this week is Kitchen Rush. I'm going to be talking about the crew. My sizzling game for this week is Wavelength. So my sizzling game this week is Control. My sizzling game is Jaws of the Lion. I've actually been playing Detective, a modern crime board game. We have actually been playing through Clank Legacy.
My sizzling game was Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig.
I've been playing Istanbul.
My sizzle for this show is Forbidden Skies, Height of Danger.
My sizzling game is called Drop It. I've been playing Dune Imperium. I've been playing a game that the theme is quite heavy and it's a little bit dry, but actually it's a really interesting game. So it's called The Cost. I've actually been playing some Letter Gem.
I played this a couple of times on a game day on the weekend, and that game is Let's Make a Bus Route. So
I've been playing a game called Guildmaster, two-player head-to-head game called Can. It's called Micro Macro El Grande. I've been playing Nidavellir.
I've been playing a game called Compromat.
I've been playing a game called Bonfire. What's been hitting the table this week is War Chest. I've been playing Cloudspire. My sizzle is Mandala Stones. So my sizzling game, it's kind of cool because it's close to home. It's called The Gardens and it's about the Sydney Botanical Gardens. It's called Yokai.
My sizzling game is The Search for Planet X.
My sizzling game is a little card game. It's one of my favorite card games actually, and I haven't sizzled it before, which is a travesty. It's called Battle Line. We played Furnace, which was amazing, and Adrian's already talked about Furnace on the show, so I'm going to talk about a different one that I really liked as well, which was Corrosion. My brother and his girlfriend came up to stay, and they bought me for Christmas Anno 1800.
I've been playing a little bit of Terra Mystica on Board Game Arena.
My game is Escape Plan. I haven't actually been playing like a huge amount of games, but I did play Golem the other day.
Oh, man.
How was it?
So cool. Yeah, it's really good. The other game I played was Mind Management. I played this a couple of times, so I'm going to talk about that. This is actually kind of my sizzle because it's super awesome. I'm really, really impressed with this game. Well, I started the Eon's End Legacy, the new one, Return to Gravehold. And I know, I think it's already been touched on the podcast, but I wanted to say some stuff too because, oh my gosh,
My sizzle is I played the Alien Invasion expansion of On Mars today. Well, speaking of cubes, I feel like that's a segue to talk about my sizzling game. I played Clinic. I think this is a game, I'm like recommending it to everyone because I think it's a game that everyone will like. It's a trick-taking game. It's called Scout. My game's victory through industry. My sizzle. Okay, so my sizzle is Dice Realms. So I've been playing Eura Penguin. It's fine. It's fine. I'm not stressed. So I played Horseless Carriage. So my sizzle is past party food. Yes, and it's kind of related to, like, we were talking about cards with similar powers and stuff like that. This game has that too. It's a war game. It's called Votes for Women. Yeah, actually, I've just decided to change my sizzle. I've never sizzled my favorite game of all time.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what? I think it's time that I did that.
Talk about it.
Mage Knight is like an absolute bear.
It's actually Sarah that introduced me to my favorite game as well, Barrage, and it's still my favorite game. And we actually got to interview Isaac Childress together, which was awesome. It was the first actual, like, proper episode that we were actually on. And that game has just been like, it's been synonymous with her passing it over to me and teaching me on TTS in the height of COVID. And I loved it. And many, many games of that since. So thanks, Sarah. Appreciate it.
Mafia the Cuba, man. I wouldn't. My tradition of Mafia the Cuba at the end of game days wouldn't be around without Sarah teaching me Mafia the Cuba.
Ah, yeah. Letters from Whitechapel. She taught me Letters from Whitechapel. She taught me Mage Knight.
Sarah taught me So Clover as well, and that is like probably my favourite game to bust out with just about anyone at the moment. So yeah.
Oh man, that Comic-Con last year, she must have played So Clover 37 times in a row, like just over and over and over again.
I really remember the extremely long late night Weather Machine playtests with Vital.
Oh God!
And these games were so long, and they would go through the night, like 1 a.m., 2 a.m., and Sarah and I were so tired and falling asleep, and we like kept messaging each other, how can we work together to make this game end? We need to make this game finish. We can't handle this anymore. This needs to end. But it was all great fun.
The first episode that I was on with Sarah was the trivia night, and we were all there, apart from Connor.
Hang on, this isn't about Sarah. This is about me. Stop trying to take it about me.
I just looked at the picture, and there's like everyone's on their webcams, and there's your photograph in the placeholder for it. That's how I knew. But yeah, that was a good night. I enjoyed that. It was really fun.
And she had the game off, the debate off with Dan.
It was Hungry Hippos versus
Kaplunk.
That's right.
Yeah, that was great. That was
the first F-bomb.
Yeah. I don't know how I was going to win that.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, guys, I got to tell you about this game, Kaplunk. It is amazing. Okay, Vital Lacerda said that this inspired him to start designing games, and it's called Kaplunk. And it's got everything. It's got strategy. You know, you're going to be deep thinking. You're going to be using your dexterity to pull out these sticks and make sure the marbles don't fall. Kids love it too. Old people love it.
Old people
love it. Stressful. It's really not a lot of time.
It's not. It's hard. You got to be quick.
Speaking of talking about things, Sarah and I actually did a road trip last year down to PAX when we had PAX.
Yes, that's right.
So, so picking Sarah up at 5 a.m. In Sydney, and because as she's always been, Sydney for life, so that's another thing that we'll be missing, a Sydney cider. But yeah, picking Sarah up early in the morning and then driving, almost non-stop. We'd stopped to make a couple of stops, but
both of them were
down
Maccas.
to Melbourne for PAX. And Brad, my son, was in the back of the car, and he literally slept the whole way. We got to Melbourne and he woke up. So poor old Sarah had to sit there listening to me blabber on for a solid 9 hours.
That was the first thing she said when she got out of the car to me. She's like, "Oh my God, Mitch talked the whole way." I was like, yeah, you would.
100%. And we talked about everything. Like, you could pick a topic. I don't know, it just went there. So it was really good, and I've always found her really easy to talk to, and that 9-hour trip was a prime example of that. So I apologise, Sarah, for chewing your ear off for 9 hours, but it definitely made the trip quicker. For me, at least.
One of the things I remember, it actually wasn't that long ago, was our live pod. And like for those of us who were there, it was really like, we just had to keep the energy going. And I think Sarah sort of got a bit lost in her words, and she uttered the phrase, "Give me the sausage." And I think from that point on, it was like, what the? And then Mike played the sausage game like 2 days later or a day later. That was pretty fortuitous. But yeah, give me the sausage. I think like the crowd were actually like, what did she say? Did she just say give me the sausage?
The other thing is the interaction as well. Like, it's really interactive for a Euro because you can trade with people and things like that, and you end up screaming out weird things like, "Who's got sausage? I need your sausage," and things like that.
Maybe not that.
I'm pretty sure Manny or somebody after that said that was just worth it to hear Sarah say that sentence. And I was like, it was something special for sure.
Yeah, I have some good memories. This is, I guess, a bit more off air, but when I was living in Canberra when we first started the podcast, I'd travel up to Sydney for the game days, and Sarah was gracious enough to have me stay at her place because traveling to and from Canberra to Sydney is a bit of a trek. And I had great times playing board games with her. She was just really welcoming, inviting, and I know she's not going anywhere. She just won't be on the podcast anymore, but she has been and still will be a very good friend. I'll miss having her around on the podcast to talk about things.
I just want to say, Sarah, you're an absolute breath of fresh air on this podcast. I love going through it with you. I loved I thought at the start our tastes were so different, but I really enjoyed just slowly learning how similar our tastes were and where our crossovers were. I'm going to definitely miss having you on here and discovering more of that, but I'm sure we'll catch up in our own time and play some more awesome games.
Some of my favourite episodes that I've been on with Sarah weren't actually probably actual episodes, but they were Patreon episodes, because we did a couple where we talked about our writing together, and it was almost like I've always seen myself as a bit of a writer, or I dabbled, and then Sarah would tell me about what she's working on, and it's like, no, I'm not even close. I was so intimidated by some of the stuff she was entering competitions. And then we had another episode where we were talking about some of the ideas we had for games, and mine are just like doodles and scratchings in a notebook, and she's actually gone and designing her own actual game. So it's probably no surprise that she's the first person from our podcast who actually got off their ass and did something. So kudos to you, Sarah, and I look forward to seeing your game or games on the shelves. I expect a signed copy next time we see you. But you'll be missed. The place won't be the same without you.
We've done very few episodes together with Sarah, and I was looking at that the other day, and I think there's just happens, conflict of schedule and stuff, but the ones that we've done together have been very memorable for me. We did first couple of very big guests that we had on the podcast together that I was very interested in, Vitala Serda and Ian O'Toole at the start, and a few episodes later we did Ryan Courtney together. But like Dan, I also remember a couple of Patreon episodes that we've done together and spoke about some of I think the last one was about her shelf of shame. The other thing, I guess, and this is a bit more personal, Sarah was on the episode when I came back from my sort of break, if you like, when I had left the podcast in 2022 and then came back a few months later. Sarah was on the podcast, and I'll not forget how excited she was when she was doing the introduction that I was there. And, moments like this, really cement that we've become friends, and, it's a lot more than just the podcast.
Sarah, I'm pretty sad to see you go. You're a really close friend of mine, and I've really enjoyed the time that we've got to spend together, both in person and online. I've got to thank you so much for opening my eyes to so many board games that we played together, that you've taught me. Your patience for teaching me in particular is astounding. the way that you can just explain rules and explain them time and time again. I've got you to thank for my choice of heavier games as well. In particular, some of the Euros and stuff that I really love to play these days. That's because of suggestions from you. I'll miss talking to you about video games as well in the general chat and on the video game part of Discord. I hope you still come in and show me where you're up to with Diablo and all your other games. And I know for a while we sort of had a little, the group of us had a thing going with Zelda, so that was really cool. And we were sort of sending each other pictures of where we're up to and stuff like that. That was awesome. But look, I know you're still going to be around. I will miss having conversations with you on the podcast because you challenged some of my ideas and challenged how I thought about games and gave me something different to think about, which is really important to me as a person. But I know you're going to be around. I cannot wait to see what the future holds for you with your board game development. I know Corrupt City is going along at a rate of knots, so looking forward to seeing that. And just don't be a stranger.
Yeah, thank you, Sarah, for, I remember when we started the podcast, I was somewhat of a novice, even though I've been playing board games for a long time. But like what Connor has said, thank you for introducing me to so many other games that are out there and expanding my tastes. And not all of them have been for me, but it's been an enjoyable journey at least, and you've been a part of that. So thank you for being the champion of, teaching all of us that beige can be beautiful.
Yeah, I'd just like to say thanks, Sarah. I mean, you and I have always been, I've always felt like a team within a team because we've been the Sydney crew for so long. So thanks for everything you've done in Sydney with me and the game days we've done together, the last minute struggles we've had, the running around, trying to get things organised, and it was always the two of us doing that. So I'll appreciate everything you did there. I would also, you will always be remembered from a podcast perspective as an absolutely integral to the podcast, what we made it, what it's become. And all of that success is, largely in part to the input that you had with the rest of us, and that will never be forgotten. So you should be able to hold your head high, be proud of what you've contributed to, because we wouldn't have been able to do it without you. So thanks, Sarah.
I just want to say a massive thank you, Sarah, for what is, I think, a very critical part of what the podcast has been for the last couple of years that we've been running it. But above all, I want to thank you for your friendship throughout this journey. I don't think this would have been anywhere near the same without you, and I definitely know that the podcast is not going to be the same without you here. So on the other hand, I'm really looking forward to see what you come up with next, and hope we remain friends moving forward.
I was going to say, as a parting gift, if I could give one with the next to no power bestowed upon me, to exonerate you of all outstanding oaths. They are counted as done. You can walk into the distance knowing you don't need to worry about them. You can fill your shelf of shame up. You can back more than one Kickstarter a month. Go for your life.
Can you do that for me as well? That's why you're doing it.
Only if you leave.
That was so awesome. That was epic, you guys.
Oh, thanks. I hope you enjoyed it.
I did.
That was all a bit emotional.
It was. Of course, Jules does not have that power to exonerate me.
No.
Mitch is on the mute. I still have to do my Thank you, guys. That was amazing. You guys are the best. I hope that the barbecue just goes from strength to strength, and I know it will, because you guys have so much passion for it and just endless patience and endless effort that you guys put in. It's amazing.
Have you got hay fever or something, Sarah? Because you keep rubbing.
You guys made me cry.
Oh. All right.
Thank you all so much.
No, thank you. And we all wish you all the very best with whatever it is. We know you'll be a success. So thanks for everything.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It was amazing. Peace
Good
out.
night.
Cheers.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.